Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Trump is on with Laura Ingraham last night. And, of course, he's talking a little bit about Kamala, a little bit about debating. And he sort of, I don't know, was meandering on his commitment to debating Kamala. It's interesting. But ultimately, yes, I'll debate, but there are some things I'd like to see.
The answer is yes, I'll probably end up debating. I think actually the debate should take place before the votes start being cast. You know, I had a very good second debate with Biden. I really beat him badly. The problem was 30-40% of the votes were already cast. If you're going to have a debate, you got to do it, I think, before the votes are cast. I think it's very important that you do that. So the answer is yes, but I can also make a case for not doing it. Also, I don't like rewarding fake news. I don't like rewarding the people that have been, if they're going to make tens of millions of dollars with this debate. I don't like ABC. I think it's a terrible, terrible outfit. I don't like that ABC is going to get rich. George Slopadopoulos, as I call him. I don't like it's such. I mean, these are such bad people.
I'm going to debate. Well, yeah, Slopadopoulos, Clinton Foundation donor zero, whichever you prefer, and he's going to debate, but not ABC. But I can make a case for not debating. I'll tell you what. Here's a thesis. Actually, I put this to our former colleague Steve Cortez, who will be the guest on my podcast today that posts at American Greatness. Here's a thesis. Whoever talks the least amount wins this race.
Oh, okay.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text. And I don't know if that's what Trump is getting at by sort of I can also make a case for not debating. I think part of it, my sort of reading between the lines of what he was saying to Ingram was, everybody knows me. They know my positions. They're going to know her positions, but I don't want to give her the stature that I have by appearing on the same debate stage with her.
Well, I said from the beginning when she announced it, when they announced Biden dropped out, he should not debate her. There is nothing to gain by debating her at all. And everything he says is going to be turned around. It's going to be, misconstrued as misogynistic or bombastic. And I just don't.
Yeah, but we've been here before. It's the same thing with Hillary.
I know. And I love that town hall. The second debate was amazing. And that's when he really pulled ahead, I thought, in the polls. But I understand his point of contention about don't debate after early voting has begun. There's nothing to. Look what happened. Fetterman got in because 1 million votes were cast before he debated Dr. Oz.
Well, right. I know. I agree with that. That makes sense to me as well. So keep the September 10th date. Maybe wrestle
Fox.
over who the sponsors. Well, you have to get agreement on that, I suppose. Move it to a neutral location. I don't know. Have Dana White hosted in the Octagon. I don't really care. But he's right. He's got to debate, and they're going to debate. But it's just interesting that some of his, there's always purpose behind sort of his massaging of his position, because it was, we're going to debate, multiple debates, everybody's wanting to debate, and his was like a reluctant, yes, I'll debate, but I don't like this, and I can make a case for that. It was just interesting.
Well, I'm sick of it. Nothing's on his terms. It's pre-decided by the Democrat and that mouthpiece and the suck toys from the media for the D.C. people that are in charge. Just stop. I mean, say, I'll debate, but this is what I'm doing. You want to show up? I'm going to be on Fox, or I'm going to be on Newsmax or News Nation, and this is how it's going to be.
Or maybe you
put your foot down. Don't get walked all over.
Right. You leverage one debate and one debate format for something else that you want. I mean, I don't want to counter my thesis, but that includes the debate. When I say whoever talks the least amount wins, and that's what I'm saying with that sort of is. Whoever the election is a referendum on is disadvantaged. I think the election can be a referendum on Trump and he can still win because Kamala is just such a bad candidate, such a candidate that is sort of out of step with the general zeitgeist of the time in many ways. I know, the cultural Marxists are in control, and so in some ways she's not, but she even takes that too far for the comfort level of, the common sense swing voters out there. But yeah, I think that if the election is a referendum on Kamala, it'll be an electoral blowout. And so the point is, get her talking, keep her talking, make the race about her. He also had an interesting riff, too. I haven't quite heard this one before in terms of the branding of Kamala. He essentially made the argument that she's Soros prosecutor zero. Oh. Like Stephanopoulos or Slopanopoulos, whatever he calls him, is Clinton Foundation donor zero. Yeah. Kamala was Kim Fox before we had Kim Fox. She's the
is she the OG?
She's the OG for Krasner and Bowden and Gasson and so many of these prosecutors, and of course our very own Kim Fox. Kamala was the original.
She was a bad prosecutor. She was a prosecutor of black people. She put thousands and thousands of black people in jail over marijuana. But when it came to big crime, murders and everything else, she was weak. She would love to go after Trump. You know, she says, oh, Trump, 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 I did nothing wrong. They did a lot wrong, but I did nothing wrong. This was a totally manufactured deal. This was an attack on a political opponent. And she was involved in that with Biden. And so far it's backfired because people know this was an attack on a political opponent. She was a bad prosecutor in San Francisco. She led the cashless bail and all of the different things. She was the first of all of the bad prosecutors that have allowed. You know, if you look at the 25 top cities, they're basically all Democrat. The prosecutors are weak. She was the early. She destroyed. She's a San Francisco liberal.
She's the OG. Yeah.
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on the same line.
So get her talking about her record. Get her talking about her philosophy when it comes to no cash bail, like we feature here in Illinois. Get her talking about the legalization of that and the decarceration for this and the decriminalization of the other thing. Get her talking about it all. Because somebody who agrees with me, at least in part, based on what he had to say on Brett Baer's program yesterday, Mark Penn, former pollster for Hillary Clinton, had him on the show before. He's sort of a reasonable, thoughtful Democrat strategist. You don't get to use those adjectives very much in connection with that noun.
Nice to hear those words come out of your mouth.
But here's what Penn said. Essentially, Kamala's posture should be.
The best Democratic path here is she's within a couple of points. They got the convention. Conventions are usually worth a couple of points. Got a week of unimpeded message here. She's going to, I think, rally women, consolidate blacks, get young people back, and not answer any questions about anything, if possible, in the last 100 days. Because that worked for Joe Biden, and it would work for her, too.
Yep, that's what I feel. And this honeymoon phase is clearly not over yet. I mean, they had the white dudes for Kamala Zoom conference where they made $4 million again, and people are just so excited about her. It's weird.
Well, these are dyed-in-the-wool Bolsheviks. So I mean,
they're looking for something. But the fact that she can complete a sentence and she doesn't stare off aimlessly into space, and she knows how to enter and exit stage, that's like an accomplishment now for Democrats because I've had to suffer with Biden for all these years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The enthusiasm is manufactured. Of course, the honeymoon will be extended for as long as they can. If the press corps could get away with doing the hagiographic coverage for the next 100 days that they've done for the first 8, then of course they'll attempt to do that. They're not going to be able to get away with it. There is a Trump campaign. There is alternative media. The word there and alternate social media platforms, thanks to Elon Musk, largely. The word is going to get out, and she's going to be confronted by her record, and we'll see, if they can keep her from cackling for the next 100 days too. Lewis, Southside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Oh, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. What he should do? Don't debate her. Don't. 14 million people have been disenfranchised. It's a joke what they doing, and the people that were nominated for vice president, they dropping out. They don't want to be part of this joke, of this circus. So the only thing he need to do is just campaign, and don't use the word black, use the word African Americans. Just campaign on the issues, and don't give it no credibility. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Lewis.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, they want you to think that unlimited data is fantastic. Well, the fact is, it's not. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data that you need. With just $25 a month, you get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 5 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Save money, same service with Pure Talk.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, speaking of the honkies for Kamala, as Amy sort of alluded to, we had the where the white women at? They're on a Zoom call with Connie Britton. And now, where the white men at? They're on a Zoom call with P-Butt. We'll have both at 5:38.
Oh, God, what world are we living in? But first, let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
71 degrees at 5:31. Multiple landslides triggered by torrential rains in southern India have killed 70. British police are questioning a suspect and trying to work to understand what motivated a 17-year-old boy to attack children at a dance and yoga class at a school, leaving 2 dead and 11 injured. Democrats are trying to rally behind President Biden's unpopular call for a Supreme Court overhaul.
The court's being used to weaponize an extreme and unchecked agenda. This decision is a total affront to the basic expectations we have for those who wield the power in this nation.
Vice President Kamala Harris, now considered the Democrat nominee for president, says she's backing the Biden proposal. Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Dick Durbin is backing the effort. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell accused the president and Democrats of shredding the Constitution.
President Biden and his leftist allies don't like the current composition of the court, so they want to shred the Constitution to change it. He wants what he calls an ethics code, but that already exists.
Also this morning, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper is reportedly removing himself from consideration to be VP for Kamala Harris. And Speaker Mike Johnson and House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries are announcing the 7 Republicans and 6 Democrats who will make up the task force to investigate the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Republican chair of that panel will be Mike Kelly, who represents Butler, Pennsylvania. Riot police confronting protesters in Venezuela.
In towns and cities across Venezuela, thousands of people have taken to the streets. Some walked miles to the capital from mountain slums. In Caracas, they were met with tear gas and rubber bullets. The protesters say Nicolas Maduro's re-election as president was fraudulent. They claim to be gathering evidence proving the opposition candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez, as the true winner. Opinion polls before Sunday's election suggested Gonzalez had a clear lead. President Maduro is accusing opponents of trying to stage a coup. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
The Biden administration is buying oil to replenish the strategic petroleum reserve that they emptied. The purchase of more than 4.6 million barrels of crude is the latest work of the Department of Energy. Former President Donald Trump is coming back to Chicago this week. His campaign says he'll attend the National Association of Black Journalists Convention tomorrow. And Governor J.B. Pritzker still won't say whether he's being vetted to be the Democrats' next vice presidential candidate. Here's AM 560's Greg Bishop.
Asked Monday at an unrelated event if he's being vetted for second in command of the country, Pritzker refused to share any private conversations with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Other than to say that I have committed myself to Kamala Harris, that I will go out and work my heart out for her to win this election because we cannot have Donald Trump as president of the United States.
Republican State Representative Brad Halbrook said Pritzker's agenda is far left and Marxist, and doesn't care about the Constitution or the border, and will tax, borrow, and spend more if he's the second most powerful person next to the president.
I'm not really sure that Illinoisans can afford much more J.B. Pritzker. I'm pretty sure that America can't afford any more of the Democrat policies.
Democrats meet in Chicago for their national convention beginning August 19th. I'm Greg Bishop.
The Damon Green Line L stop is set to open next week. The station at the intersection of Lake and Damon has been years in the making in the city of Chicago, almost 7 years since plans for the station were drawn up. Cubs lost to the Reds 7-1. Southsiders are holding a fire sale leading up to today's trade deadline. A 3-team deal yesterday with the Cardinals and Dodgers. Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham to St. Louis, shipping reliever Michael Kopech off to the Dodgers. And then the Sox lost 8-5 to the Royals. Team USA, 8 more medals on Monday, including U.S. men's gymnastics, earning the bronze, their first team medal since 2008, led by an inspired performance by Deerfield's Paul Judah. Stevenson High School grad is not done. He's got more coming in the individual all-around. 5:36, and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
News happens fast.
The former president was whisked away after gunshots rang out at his rally north of Pittsburgh.
President Biden wrote in a letter posted on social media. It says it is in the best interest of his party and the country to stand down.
When news breaks.
Best suited to assume the position of Vice President of the United States is Senator J.D. Vance.
It happens here.
I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States.
This is your breaking news and election station. AM 560, The Answer.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with QuickDelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
Hi, this is Pastor Calvin from Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights. It is time to get your children and grandchildren out of the godless government schools. How can we subject our loved ones to forced, ungodly psychological examinations and perverse sexual teachings? You would not send your child to a school that teaches 2 + 2 is 5. What is being taught today is far worse and damaging to minds and hearts. We can help through our on-campus Christian school and homeschool program. For over 55 years, we have operated a Christian school now in Arlington Heights, and we have served hundreds of thousands of families across our nation and foreign countries through our homeschool program, Christian Liberty Homeschools. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or to schedule a tour of our excellent 12-acre facility. Take action today. Visit ChristianLiberty.com, ChristianLiberty.com.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Their video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
5:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Only a couple of trouble spots so far this morning. Inbound Dan Ryan Express jammed up at 35th, and westbound I-80 slowing up between Larkin and Hobart due to work on the ramps, entrance and exit ramps to I-80 from Hobart Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny today. We'll have a little wildfire smoke, haze crossing the area, and a high of 92. 71 right now. Next news coming up at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. They're cranking it up for Kamala. And I'm not just talking about the Zoom calls by themselves, but what they're centered around, what these Zoom calls and what the ads you're starting to see pop up are centered around. Well, let's go to the honky dudes, and I use dudes very generously. Honky dudes for Kamala call featuring P-Butt. Here's what P-Butt had to say on that call.
But for all of that, what's really filling my sails right now, and what I think Kamala Harris is expressing so well right now, is the positive side of all this, a reminder of what we are for, namely freedom. I'm so glad she has made freedom the theme of her campaign, because I think in so many ways that's what's at stake. And yes, women's freedom is Exhibit A after Donald Trump demolished the right to choose. But of course, men are also more free in a country where we have a president who stands up for things like access to abortion care. Boom. Men are more free when the leader of the free world and the leader of this country supports access to birth control.
So that's what's putting the starch in P-Butt shorts right now, is the freedom for men and women, because men can have kids, so they can have abortions, apparently. But mainly women have abortions. It's very freeing for men. He's not wrong. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, 646. Oh, no. What's our new text deal?
It's 312-642-5600, and you have an option to text.
Oh, so it's a call. Same number.
Yeah.
It's a twofer. Wonderful. So anyway, so P-Butt, it's very freeing. Freedom's the centerpiece of her campaign. This needs to be taken apart as well. It is very, very freeing in the sense of freeing men from responsibility. Is that what women want? Men to be irresponsible, licentious, and irresponsible? Because that's what P-Butt is endorsing. That's what abortion on demand provides. That's what abortion as birth control has provided. And it disintegrates the family and the desire for one effectively. It creates a generation filled with men without chest, doesn't it? Freedom from responsibility.
Freedom.
You're right. You said it properly.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's all she wants. Just one thing.
I just want one thing, Mommy. Freedom.
Mm-hmm. Darling. So just a cute, darling.
Young Kamala.
Yeah, so this is where it all is. And anybody who opposes their radicalism on abortion and their antagonism towards the family structure is a creep, is weird, is a pedophile. Before we get back to the honkies for Kamala, this is an ad. You have to see it to fully appreciate it, but hearing it will give you a sense of it. It's a bunch of sweaty men, that most of them are overweight. They look like they're, sitting in a van outside of a kid's park. Okay. This is done by a PAC that's in part the work product of some TV writers, including the one of the guys behind the Pod Save America, a podcast of former Obama staffers.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some lowlights, highlights of that, yes.
The PAC is Won't Pack Down, and their message is, these guys are just weird. They're a bunch of weirdos and creeps. They're creepsters trying to get into your bedroom, and we're giving you freedom.
Us MAGA Republicans banned abortion, but That's just the start.
That's just the start.
If Trump gets elected, we want the government involved in all aspects of your sex life.
Way more involved.
Way more involved.
When you have sexual intercourse, it should be illegal to use contraception. No pills, no condoms.
Your genitals are reserved for procreation.
If you freeze 12 eggs, you should be required to have 12 babies, or else you're a serial killer. And I'm definitely not a serial killer.
Are you?
My son monitors my porn usage to make sure I'm not self-pleasuring.
Just like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. That's true, you can look it up.
Don't you think that's normal?
Yeah, I do.
It's normal for your son to do that.
You should have a family member monitor your porn use too.
Because pleasuring yourself is very, very naughty.
I'm voting in November.
I'm voting in November. We're all voting in November. Are you?
Because what happens in your bedroom is up to me.
Is up to me and my son. Also, mouth stuff is a sin.
What the heck was that?
We're the weirdos. J.D. Vance is a weirdo. We're the weirdos. This is how they're going to demagogue abortion and all things related to the libertine, licentious culture that they platform, that they celebrate, just as they celebrated the opening ceremony of the Olympics. Opening ceremony of the Olympics, that is center cut. That is love and inclusion and freedom. You have any issues with that, and you're one of these creepsters who wants to monitor people's personal conduct from within their bedroom.
But where do they even
That's
get
the
that?
allegation.
I mean, they're just making stuff up.
Well, of course they make stuff up.
If Trump
Why
wanted to
not?
put a federal ban on abortion, he would have tried to do that his first 4 years. People forget that he was the president for 4 years, and he didn't do that.
Well,
He's letting the states decide.
Well, right, and his position was pretty clear, but this is not a time for a defensive posture to respond to something like that on the substance, because that's exactly what they want you to do. No, I sort of lead with the apology. No, I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not what they accuse me of. No, this is the time to come back over the top, or you're going to fan the flames on this issue and make it more central than it would otherwise be. This is a lure for Trump and Republicans. So don't bite on it. Pun intended, given the content here. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. So the again, go back to, let's, before we get to the men, ladies first. We didn't hear from Coach Taylor's wife, Connie Britton. It's sad because I liked her in Friday Night Lights. I liked her in Spin City.
Yeah.
But
It's over.
It's hard to like this.
And, interesting. White women. I mean, here we are. I have to admit, when I was writing stuff down, I was like, Karens for Kamala? I don't know. Why is it so difficult, as Glennon was saying, to acknowledge and address ourselves as white women? But here we are, and I am so proud for all of us to be together as women, as white women. We are the ones that have the privilege, of course, and we too have had to fight and continue to fight for our equality, our selfhood, our freedom. But we have whatever privileges our white male counterparts have had the mercy and good sense to bestow on us. And then whatever else of it we have managed to take for ourselves, often being led by, as many have said earlier tonight, the leadership of our sisters of color who have fought and continue to fight for their righteous place on God's green earth. So I am here tonight embracing myself in your incredible, profound white women midst. Because we've got a f***ing job to do, y'all.
Hey, potty mouth.
And my life experience shows me that often as women, we have to blow our lives up in order to truly know ourselves, empower ourselves, free ourselves. This is because my life experience tells me the structures of the culture are deeply defined for us, and we must behave within the confines of these structures. Of course, these structures were created by men to benefit them. So oftentimes the only way we can break free from them is by literally blowing them up, which my life experience tells me often looks like bad behavior. But it is, in fact,
Is she done yet?
an act of deep self-love.
I have no idea what she's talking about, but neither does she. So we're in good company. I mean, there's just
She just reminded me of Kamala. I went to my happy place where she's just using words to waste time and fill
it's just
space.
pablum, right, about privilege and structures and rights and.
Why does everything have to be about race with the Democrats? It's
not just about race. It's not just about race. It's also the whole thing was her attempt to be Susan B. Anthony. How'd that go? Good grief.
Identity politics at its finest, folks. Here you go.
I don't know what I have less stomach for. More of the awfuls for Kamala or these male impersonators for Kamala. You want to catch one or two of these dudes? Yeah. Here's one. Flying in formation with P-Butt.
And that happens at the same time as the myths around America that we grew up with, that we as men are expected to be protectors and providers, are going out into an economy that doesn't really allow for that, especially for working class folks. And sort of like compounding on that, masculinity as a trope has been co-opted by the MAGA right into something that feeds into and exacerbates the loneliness epidemic, as well as the mental health crisis that many face that end up leading to really destructive behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't the only ones that are hurt by these things. Black and brown people, LGBTQIA plus people,
check your boxes.
Especially trans women and indigenous people, and all sorts of other folks in our society who've been historically and often still today are marginalized and being hurt, demonized, and marginalized even further. So
I like Jeff Bridges. He just said it real simple.
So a friend sent me this email today with your hat on there. And I said, oh, I got to have one of those. I qualify, man. I'm white, I'm a dude, and I'm for Harris. So wonderful to be here. And I dug what you said.
Yeah, I dug what you said, dude. Sad, too, because Jeff Bridges is a really good actor.
Oh, he's spectacular, but I don't like him right now.
No, no, you got to.
I'm here because I'm white and I'm a dude and I'm stoned.
Yeah, okay, Lebowski. You just have to dismiss this. They don't know anything. As talented as Jeff Bridges and much less Connie Britton are, they just don't know anything about any of this. So that their minds are either committed to remembering their lines. Well, it's really actually their entire life is remembering their lines. Right, remembering their lines for their job and remembering their lines for politics. There's no thought going on there. I'm white, I'm a dude, and I'm for Kamala. Yeah, of course. It's so banal, isn't it, Jeff? But the regular incels that were on the call, like the dude you heard from, who's projecting his loneliness onto the group, yeah.
Did he find a friend last night?
I thought he was going to break into the Ballad of Ira Hayes there for a second when he was going through his checklist of all these identities he's so concerned about. Here's another guy who alleges he has 2 daughters, and I'm a little suspicious.
But here I am. Also, quick observation. They have Kid Rock, Kevin Sorbo, and a dolphin aficionado, and we have the Hulk, Samwise Gamgee, Luke Skywalker, and Mayor Pete just on this Zoom. That's pretty damn cool.
Who's the Hulk? Ed Norton.
I'm a white dude. That much you can probably tell by
Bruce
now.
Bixby
But I also happen to be a father
Lou
of 2
Ferrigno?
girls. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old, and
Wait for it.
I'm not sure if you guys can recall that feeling you had on the night of Tuesday, November 8th, 2016.
Elation.
I stood over my kid's bed and I wept. I wept because I felt like I let them down. I wept because they had the chance, and we had the chance, to have a female president for the first time in our lives and in the history of this nation. And instead, we put a man in office who not only disdains women, but whose own wife can't look him in the eye, whose own daughters seem to want nothing to associate him, to be associated with him.
Please stop.
And
his daughters love him.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about these Zoom calls with these knuckleheads is that they're just for entertainment purposes. I mean, none of these people matter. This is all built into the price. So this is, again, don't take anything away from this. Extrapolate nothing from it. It's strictly for entertainment purposes, and you have to have a strong constitution to find this entertaining. There's no question about that.
They're talking about Mark Ruffalo. He played Hulk in the Marvel movies.
Oh, he did.
Yes.
Well, there's been a lot of Hulks throughout the ages. Of course, Ruffalo was there. Another very good actor, but a dimwit.
Pritzker was there. Do you want to hear what he has to say?
No.
Oh.
George in Naperville.
Funny.
Yeah, Dan, I don't need instruction from weirdos to navigate the American experience.
I'm not going to ask what that means, but all right.
Well, who's calling who weird?
I got to be honest that when I'm invited to an event with a name like White Dudes for Harris, it doesn't usually sound like something I would join, but this is a terrific cause. And I'll keep my remarks short. I know that we have a lot of speakers. And afterward, of course, there's another Zoom that I invite you all to called Couches Against Trump, better known as CATS.
Yeah, hilarious.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Brandon Tatum weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, followed by Charlie Kirk at 7. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for in-depth history with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world. It's just the history we don't know, and Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. In 1974, economist Art Laffer, at dinner with Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, and Jude Wanniski, famously drew out on a fancy napkin a curve that now bears his name. This Laffer curve shows that lowering tax rates can lead to higher tax revenue. This doesn't always work, but it does when rates are too high and disincentivizing to business investment, like in the 1980s under President Reagan. Such dynamic analysis of economic variables should also be applied to reductions in government regulations, and is why the end of Chevron deference will be so positive. And small cap stocks have already reacted positively. Antitrust laws, though, are another story. And since the Biden administration likes pushing people around, this is their new favorite arena. Despite the pretense that these laws are about ensuring competition, the Sherman and Clayton Acts mostly serve to block bigger firms who wish to combine in order to reduce costs. Recently, a merger between JetBlue and Spirit was blocked, and Amazon was basically intimidated from acquiring iRobot. Currently, Kroger and Albertsons are tripping all over themselves, divesting 600 stores, including Mariano's, to get regulatory approval so they can better compete at scale against Walmart. Antitrust laws have their place. We don't want a situation like in the movie RoboCop 2 when the chairman of Omni Products Company tells the mayor, "We're taking Detroit private." But in the more laissez-faire 1870s to 90s, when corporate consolidation was high, the norm was actually 1% to 2% deflation. Inflation has been more of a post-war phenomenon. And maybe the simplest explanation for it is that our imperial government has been a slobbering debt addict since the Great Society. And even though mild deflation would be good for consumers, it would be devastating to the indebted Uncle Sam.
Very good, Frank. Thank you, as always. An early edition this Tuesday from Frank. He has business to tend to. Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, great as always. Coming up at 6:06, Biden launches an attack on our democracy.
And Trump is coming to Chicago tomorrow. We'll tell you where and why. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
He'll be attending the National Association of Black Journalists Convention here in Chicago. The governor doesn't believe a Bears Stadium deal will get done this year. One woman dead in an apartment fire in Pilsen, and a man who died falling at Starved Rock State Park identified. Cubs go down against the Reds. The White Sox collapse late last night, and then execute a 3-team trade at the deadline with the Cardinals and Dodgers. WIND Chicago News Time.
Will the Supreme Court really be reformed? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
If I'm president, it doesn't happen. We keep it the way it is. And it's been working very well for a long period of time.
Former President Trump on Fox joining House Speaker Mike Johnson, who says President Biden's proposals will be dead on arrival in Congress.
Well, I think his thinking is dead on arrival.
That's the president. As he made his pitch for reform in Texas, calling for term limits for Supreme Court justices, a new code of ethics, and a constitutional amendment to overturn the court's ruling giving former presidents criminal immunity for some actions taken while in office.
This nation was founded on the principle there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law.
Vice President Harris supports the court reform as now the presumptive Democratic nominee. Will there be a Trump-Harris debate?
The answer is yes, I'll probably end up debating. I think actually the debate should take place before the votes start being cast.
Now, the Harris campaign says the former president's backpedaling. A September 10th debate was set when President Biden was still running. Former President Trump also tells Fox there should have been security on the roof and better communication in his assassination attempt in the Pennsylvania rally, while also praising the Secret Service sniper who killed the gunman.
It would have been good if it was 9 seconds sooner. You know, we lost one great person and 2 people were very badly hurt.
This morning, the Secret Service's new acting director will testify at a Senate hearing. Pop superstar Taylor Swift says she's in shock after a knife attack near Liverpool, England, on a children's dance class with Swift's music as the theme. 2 kids were killed, 11 people injured.
People are laying flowers at the scene this morning. This is eyewitness Colin Parry.
It was like a bomb had gone off, girls' bodies all over the place.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the UK is in shock.
It's almost impossible to imagine.
A 17-year-old boy has been arrested. Police say they're still trying to establish the motive.
Fox's Jonathan Savage in London. At the Paris Olympics, where the U.S. leads the medal count with 20, the men's triathlon is postponed today because the River Seine is too dirty to swim in. America's listening to Fox.
71 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Former President Donald Trump coming to Chicago's campaign says he'll be attending the National Association of Black Journalists Convention tomorrow. Governor Pritzker does not believe a deal for a new taxpayer-funded Bears Stadium in the city of Chicago will get done this year.
I made it clear to the Bears leadership that it would be near impossible to get anything done if there was a proposal put on the table by them that could get done. You couldn't actually get it done probably during the veto session and would have to wait until next spring.
One woman is dead following an apartment fire in Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood. The blaze broke out yesterday in a complex in the 1500 block of West 17th. An Illinois congressman took part in discussions about concerns over a Chinese company building a battery production facility here in Illinois. U.S. Congressman Darren LaHood led the roundtable on Goshen's ties to the Chinese Communist Party.
In our extensive work on the Select Committee on China, we have uncovered disturbing ties between Goshen, the CCP, and forced labor, which raise serious concerns about our national and economic security.
Goshen is slated to receive over $8 billion in federal and state subsidies. Fire damaged a West Suburban church and school Monday morning.
I'm told that the fire started on the back of the building back there, which both our electric service and unfortunately the gas main were.
Bill Merchant is with Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, where fire broke out in the 500 block of West 63rd Street around 6 a.m. Downers Grove Fire Chief Scott Spinazzola.
They did make an aggressive interior attack to attempt to extinguish the fire, but the fire continued to move over their heads.
While the cause remains under investigation, ComEd crews were working down the street, replacing a pole after a motorist ran into it. Cubs lost to the Reds 7-1. White Sox on a 15-game losing streak following an 8-5 loss to the Royals. Then they get busy before the trade deadline, sending to the Cardinals and Dodgers. Starting pitcher Eric Fetty and outfielder Tommy Pham, they go to St. Louis, and Michael Kopech will go to the Dodgers. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It has been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years.
The worst president in the history of our
The
country.
best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
We have a new victim to defeat.
She's tough. She's capable.
Lion Kamala Harris.
What happens next happens here.
Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe.
We face a choice.
This is your breaking news and election station. AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Illinois and Wisconsin patriots, come out to the greatest Trump rally of 2024. Support President Trump and help save the American dream. Join thousands of great Americans as we rally for Trump on Saturday, August 18th, the day before the Democratic Convention, from noon to 6 at the McHenry County Fairgrounds. It's an afternoon of music, fun, and messages from many of President Trump's most trusted advisors and closest friends, including Charlie Kirk, General Flynn, Steve Moore, and Kimberly Fletcher of Moms for America. Your MCs for the event will be me, Gary Rabine, and Sean Thompson. There will be many surprises, more all-star speakers, and well-known music groups to come. Join us as we rally for President Trump at the McHenry County Fairgrounds on Sunday, August 18th from noon to 6. Get your tickets now at paradingfortrump.com. That's paradingfortrump.com. Profits go to efforts to elect Trump as our 47th president. Paid for by the American Dream PAC. Thank you to our sponsors, Rabine America and Peerless Fence.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who's just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and 1-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
6:08, Team Hochberg, traffic center time. 390, the toll road near O'Hare, police activity, right shoulder. It's westbound just north of Lake Street. Delays stacking up on the Bishop Ford already. It's on the inbound side between Cottage Grove and the Ryan. I-55, Will County, an accident southbound at US 52. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Sun and clouds today. Wildfire smoke causing the sky to be hazy. High 92. Partly cloudy, humid, a heavy thunderstorm late tonight. Some flash flooding possible. Low 70. Partly sunny, a thunderstorm in spots tomorrow. High 87. I'm Steve Williams, sunny on 560. The Answer.
71 and clear at O'Hare. 72 Midway. 67 in Aurora. And your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So this interview that ABC News got with Pennsylvania SWAT officers assigned to the Trump rally in Butler, the day of the fateful failed assassination attempt.
It's fascinating.
Well, it's interesting. This is certainly going to foment more conspiracy theories. Jason Woods was one of those Pennsylvania SWAT officers. And here's what he told ABC News about something that didn't happen that was supposed to.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
Not until after the shooting.
And by then?
It was too late.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line. It's almost as if they wanted it to happen, as if they wanted him to get shot. I mean, the more
that's the fomenting of the conspiracy theories that I was referencing.
Right, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any stretch of the imagination, but now I'm starting to believe that it's possible.
Well, here's the problem.
Could have gotten hired, because we still don't know much about him either.
Well, did you say he could have gotten hired? Is that what you said?
Paid something. I would check bank accounts of his and his family members. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind, which I quite possibly could be.
Well, here's the problem. For all the talk about our political discourse being destabilizing, and you have to look at the climate and the relentless comparisons of Trump to Hitler and Stalin, and calling him a fascist, and he's the end of democracy. He's going to install himself as king, and all the varietals of that. And it created this environment that can induce somebody who is sort of marginally connected to reality and marginally in control of their impulses to do something as stupid and horrific as to try to kill another human being, particularly a former president of the United States. All the talk about that. People, including callers here, but Biden has blood on his hands for the vilification of Trump over the past 8 years. He's, this existential threat to the republic. I'll tell you what is much more of a destabilizing force in this country, and that is the agencies in the federal government that have so much power. We have conferred so much power, law enforcement power, and that perhaps, once upon a time enjoyed the benefit of the doubt, although that's uneven too. I mean, for example, this is not the first period in time where the FBI has behaved badly. Please see J. Edgar Hoover. But they are so much more destabilizing, oftentimes for their sins of omission, what they don't do, what they don't tell us, what they don't reveal. It's their lack of candor that is more destabilizing than anything that a politician calls another politician, or a political supporter of one camp calls another political supporter of another camp, of the other camp. That is much more destabilizing. When you don't get a credible accounting for events that took place and an assignment of responsibility for those events that took place. That is what is destabilizing, because it destroys credibility and it foments, in the vacuum, conspiracy theories, which breeds more mistrust and more antagonism. And it's just no way to it's no way to govern a free society. Is probably the best way to say it. And so, because the FBI is again slow walking this, just walking January 6th. I mean, we're still having to have just the news. 3 years later, we're having to have 3.5 years later. We're still having to have justthenews.com. John Solomon's organization, FOIA, and through connections get more.
The heck is that supposed to mean? We know we were watching. We saw it. He was shot.
Which they later confirmed.
Right. But still, the fact that he said it anyway shows how clueless he is. He's not locked in.
Well, what this SWAT officer said. So now it let's think about the questions it raises.
Okay.
So a briefing didn't happen that was supposed to happen. Is this been a pattern for the Secret Service with respect to their protectees generally? Is it just Trump? Is it a one-off incident where they just got lazy or lackadaisical and decided we didn't need to do this briefing that's normally done? I don't know. I'm not an expert in Secret Service protocols. I don't know what they have or have been doing, and I suspect most members of Congress have no idea either.
Well, Jason Woods also said that they weren't on the same radio channel either, which is a problem.
Not necessarily.
Well, if they see something, say something.
It prompts a question. We don't know. Just like this, this lack of a briefing that they anticipated getting prompts a question. There was a walkthrough. We know that. There was a walkthrough of the site 4 days before the event. So what happened at that walkthrough? Well, where is, as we talked about with John Solomon, where is the details of the security plan that was in place pre-event? Did you have shooters, counter snipers on that roof? Did you have one plan for the water tower where you had 360-degree view and you just didn't happen, or somebody got called off, or what? I don't know.
Someone didn't show up. I mean, I don't know. There are rumors that somebody was supposed to be there, but they called in sick, blah, blah, blah.
So, and then, of course, the radio transmissions, all of them, transcripts, so that we have in real time who made what decisions when, who was talking to who, and then you get a picture. And as we talked with Thomas Baker from the FBI, who was the point guy on the Reagan assassination attempt, the reason that there are very few conspiracy theories about the Reagan attempt, failed assassination attempt, is because the FBI was on the spot. They secured Hinckley's home. They gathered all the evidence. They got an understanding of what transpired that day, and they built an evidence-based theory about what happened and why it happened, and then they presented it to the public for scrutiny. Here's what we think. Here's the evidence that supports why we think so. And you got questions, ask them. You're skeptical of the official story, then express your skepticism. It's a free country. But the reason you don't hear the conspiracy theories about the Reagan failed assassination attempt is because, it's evidence-based, pretty credible. There's not, a really, that I've ever heard, a credible alternative theory that has any evidentiary support. So they basically told us what happened, and they did it relatively quickly. Well, that's not where we're getting anymore. And just to loop this in, I just mentioned it, two top House security aides under Pelosi got stark warnings from the police the night before the January 6 riots that protesters might try to breach the U.S. Capitol through its tunnel systems and block lawmakers from voting to certify Biden's presidential election win. Documents obtained by John Solomon's JustTheNews.com confirmed that Pelosi's team played a role in the botched security planning for that day. Well, now we learned this 3.5 years later. We have identified numerous open source comments, including groups' intentions of finding the tunnel entrances and confronting blocking members of Congress. That was a statement made by Capitol Police Deputy Chief Sean Gallagher, a statement he made in correspondence with Deputy House Sergeant at Arms Tim Blodgett at 8:55 p.m. on January 5th of 2021 in an email that got forwarded less than an hour later to Blodgett's boss, then Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving, the House Sergeant at Arms. Second warning was sent later that evening about possible threats against Supreme Court justices, and the Sergeant at Arms office scheduled a briefing for Pelosi's then Chief of Staff, Terry McCullough, the next morning, January 6th, hours before the breach occurred, according to messages obtained by House Administration Oversight Subcommittee Chairman Barry Loudermilk. And you remember Pelosi's conversation now that was unearthed recently, just a few weeks ago, more than 3.5 years in again. Pelosi's conversation in real time that day with her Chief of Staff, Terry McCullough, who was briefed by the Sergeant at Arms, who was briefed.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
And they were the ones that denied the Capitol Police Chief, Stephen Sund's request for the National Guard. And Stephen Sund, the Capitol Police Chief, who gave an extensive interview to Tucker Carlson, which we've poured over several times over the last few years. It's very similar in some respects to what we just heard from the SWAT team in Pennsylvania in that ABC interview. Is what normally transpires for a big event on the mall on the Capitol on Capitol Hill didn't transpire in terms of his getting a briefing from federal officials and just the protocols of interaction and planning, and then the chaos that ensued once the rioting started on January 6th and the lack of communication and so on and so forth. Stephen Sund's accounting for what did and didn't happen in the run-up to January 6th, as well as on that day, to this day remains unchallenged. It's mostly not addressed because I assume it's true, or somebody would have challenged it, tried to discredit him. Instead, they just try to ignore him and hope he goes away. But that's the best accounting I've heard, most credible accounting, in part because it hasn't been challenged by anybody at the FBI or in the political arena. I mean, elected officials. The FBI is in the political arena too, as we know all too well. So I just, the parallels. This is early, I'll grant you, but the parallels between the treatment we've gotten by these same agencies over January 6th to what it's starting to look like we're going to get with respect to the failed assassination attempt are disturbing. Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. Hey, this has just made the FBI agents down there to look stupid. This is all up above them. I wouldn't be surprised if Larry Fink is behind all of this.
All right, thanks for the call. Mark in Oak Lawn.
Dan, how are you?
All right.
Hey, just to have a little laugh about something. Okay. With Reagan, when he got shot by Hinckley, one of the Bush sons had dinner with the Hinckley family a week before the assassination. And when Nancy Reagan, when her husband died, she didn't want any of the Bushes going to the wake. That's pretty much common knowledge. So I don't know. It's just, it's something that happened and was never brought out too much in the press, though.
What was I don't remember. What was the connection between the Bush family and the Hinckley family?
They were family friends.
Huh. Okay.
You can look it up. It's common knowledge. But like you said,
I don't know.
It's true. It's true. So the media doesn't talk about it.
Thanks for the call, Mark. I mean, that's not, but that's a far cry from implicating the Bushes, obviously.
Their son he had suffered mental illness.
Hinckley's. Yeah, well, so did Prescott Bush's son in a different way. Jan in Hoffman Estates.
Hi, good morning. Listen, there's no accountability or culpability for anything in Congress. If you listen to any of the hearings, anything that's going on, they don't know where the money is. Nobody's in charge. They're not responsible. They don't answer questions. So this is why we need Trump. And every day you should be talking about why we need to get Trump in there so he can straighten out this government so we can have a government.
Thanks for the call, Jan. Tom, Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. You know, what Amy said is almost inarguable. It almost seems like this was done on purpose, and if not done on purpose, it seems like a situation was created where this could happen. So maybe they weren't directly involved, but the security was so lax. And then what does the media do? They do what you always say. They replace the director of the CIA with another person who had culpability as well. And then they expect it to all go away because they say, oh, well, she resigned, so everything's good now. How is anyone supposed to believe these agencies? You mentioned Christopher Wray. What did he state? He said he wouldn't even admit that Trump was shot until Trump called that out on social media. It was the day after that the FBI finally admitted that Trump was actually shot. How is anyone supposed to trust these agencies in our lifetime? For sure, because the same thing's going to happen. They just replace one with another.
Thanks for the call, Tom. Well, it is arguable, by the way. It's not inarguable that they wanted it to happen or allowed it to happen. That's one thing. Right, you will know them by their work product. I don't care what people say. I believe this and I believe that, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, we'll see. We'll see what you produce. And that's how they should be judged. A lot of time is spent telling me what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and it never gets done. So that's how I would say. This is why I say there's an opportunity here to do exactly what Thomas Baker said. Gather the evidence, get it, and Tim McCarthy too, who took a bullet for Reagan. Get an understanding, a credible understanding of what you think happened, and present it with the supporting evidence for public scrutiny. That's how you instill confidence. It's not because you trade out one, white shoe lawyer for another to head the FBI. That's not how you establish credibility. You establish credibility by having answers that the American people deserve to get and presenting them. Your work product is what defines you. So that's the standard. By the way, something else, since you mentioned Trump on social media, or on Truth Social, social media, when he called out Chris Wray and for the umpteenth times that Chris Wray should resign, it wasn't about the questioning whether or not he got shot. It was Christopher Wray, when asked about Biden's mental acuity and what he witnessed in interaction with Biden. So, I didn't see anything. No, it's a normal
he's fine.
customer. Yeah. I mean, so Chris Wray, either you're lying or you are just unbelievably inept at sizing somebody up, and you're the head of the FBI. I mean, really? You can't get the drop on Joe Biden and his mental capacity, especially when you have sort of a longitudinal experience with it. You can sort of track the decline because of your interactions over several years, as many people did. So Obama staffers could see it and George Clooney could see it at a Hollywood fundraiser, but the director of the FBI is completely oblivious to it. That's credible. Bob, Southside.
Hi, Dan.
Yep.
Hey, did you ever see the documentary by Oliver Stone on the Kennedy assassination?
I saw the movie, not the documentary.
Well, you have to see the documentary. He goes from
don't
A
have
to
to.
Z. Yeah, you think you do.
All right.
He shows exactly why the CIA is behind that assassination, and it mirrors what happened to Trump.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Well, Oliver Stone is I don't take at face value, number one. Number two, the more important point is that the CYA, the desire to cover their butts because of what they were doing, what the FBI was doing. This throughout the 60s. The FBI covering their butts with respect to Bobby Kennedy's assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, because they were illegally surveilling Martin Luther King. The CIA covering their butts because they were in liege with the mob to take out Castro. I mean, all that stuff is why 60 years later we have the conspiracy theories around JFK's assassination that persist.
Will never go away.
That persist. So this is my point. And now we're going to do it all over again because, I don't know, because we don't learn our lessons, obviously.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, we do have to get to Biden, the savior of democracy, attacking democracy, the Supreme Court specifically, 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
It is 6:31. Some storms and some haze on the way as President Biden is pushing for reform to the Supreme Court as he marked the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act at the LBJ Presidential Library in Texas. Biden calling for 18-year term limits for justices and an enforceable code of conduct. 2024 Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says how he wouldn't change the court if he were elected president. Trump on Fox News.
If I'm president, it doesn't happen. We keep it the way it is. And it's been working very well for a long period of time. I mean, basically, they want to create another Congress. They want to have so many people. Let's just go to another Congress.
Some of the proposed changes require a constitutional amendment. That means a 2/3 majority in both chambers of Congress and 3/4 of approval in state legislatures. 2 kids are dead, 11 others badly hurt. A stabbing in the English town of Southport. NBC News' Richard Engel is on the scene.
An assailant walked into a dance and yoga studio and began stabbing children. It was during a sold-out Taylor Swift-themed class for 6 to 11-year-olds.
Police received stabbing reports just after noon local time Monday. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
Our thoughts and condolences with the victims, their families, their friends and the wider community. And it's almost impossible to imagine the grief that they're going through and the trauma that they're going through.
Police say they detained a 17-year-old and seized a knife. The FBI revealing more details on the steps gunman Thomas Crooks took leading up to his assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Crooks, according to investigators, used aliases to make more than 24 online purchases of firearms-related products beginning in the spring of last year. The U.S. this morning rolling out a new aid package for Ukraine. The Biden administration announcing $200 million in air defense and other weaponry will be sent to Ukraine. Former President Donald Trump coming to Chicago this week, attending the National Association of Black Journalists Convention and participating in a Q&A. One woman is dead following an apartment fire in Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood. The blaze broke out yesterday along West 17th. 7 others escaped the building. And the Cook County Treasurer is offering a new online tool designed to help Cook County residents who've received a property tax increase this year that may push them out of their homes.
It does make sense as a start. Once again, it's not the end all, but it is a start in the right direction to help people to try to stay in their homes.
Harvey Mayor Christopher Clark, the payment plan calculator, can help residents pay off their past due property tax bills and avoid the annual tax sale. Cubs lost to the Reds 7-1. White Sox lost to the Royals 8-5 and then traded in a 3-team deal. Pitcher Eric Fetty and outfielder Tommy Pham to St. Louis and ship reliever Michael Kopech off to the Dodgers. The news, a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of Properties, Christie's International Real Estate. Experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago $800 million in sales. 708-828-0000. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
News happens fast.
The former president was whisked away after gunshots rang out at his rally north of Pittsburgh.
President Biden wrote in a letter posted on social media. It says it is in the best interest of his party and the country to stand down.
When news breaks.
Best suited to assume the position of Vice President of the United States is Senator J.D. Vance.
It happens here.
I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States.
This is your breaking news and election station. AM 560, The Answer.
I don't like onions. I'm doing paleo. Do they have gluten-free bagels? You can't juggle every food request for a work event, or can you? EasyCater is the all-in-one tech platform that makes it easy to get restaurant catering for work, with options for any group size, taste, dietary preference, or budget. EasyCater saves your favorite restaurants and orders, which makes reordering a snap. Need to modify an order? No problem. So when it comes to food for work, make it easy on yourself with EasyCater. Start your order at easycater.com.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. What's the only thing worse than no apology at all? A so-called apology that blames people for taking offense. The opening ceremonies in Paris for the Olympics offended and outraged people around the world with a blasphemous drag satire of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. Clips of the tableau, dubbed the New Gay Testament by its star, flooded social media and stoked criticism from all corners. Olympics organizers attempted to get the platforms to remove the images using dishonest copyright claims, then offered a sorry if you were offended non-apology, claiming not to have intended it as a satire of religious faith. That is clearly a lie. They fully intended to offend Christians with this garish and insulting parody of their faith, and they succeeded. This is not inclusivity or tolerance. It reveals a deep and abiding hatred for faith and for the Western culture built largely upon it, and it shows the contempt that the elite have for those who treasure both. I'm Ed Morrissey.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, they want you to think that unlimited data is fantastic. Well, the fact is, it's not. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data that you need. With just $25 a month, you get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 5 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Save money, same service with Pure Talk.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
6:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It's all a service of ExpressPros.com. Ready for a new job? Express Employment Professionals helps tens of thousands of people find jobs every year. Go to ExpressPros.com to find your location. Never charges a fee. That's ExpressPros.com. Kennedy inbound 46 into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound, stalled semi, 2 right lanes blocked. Inbound, right at the 390 tollway, way on the west end. 44 into the old post office. Stevenson in 33 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive from the Tri-State. On the drive this morning, an accident. 2 left lanes blocked. Vehicles slamming into the wall southbound between Marquette and 67. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny, hazy, high 92. Currently 70. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Another example of the Democrat socialists burning the village, not to save the village. You got to update that expression. They're just burning the village to burn the village.
They don't like rulings, so they change the rules.
While running around telling everyone that they're saving democracy. The latest example is we get a rare appearance from the big guy, sort of a proof of life moment, where he comes out and continues to be a company man for the radical left that's taken over the party, continues to do the Bolsheviks' bidding, even as he has been sidelined. And this is providing form to the position that he took some time ago. And by the way, Reparation H immediately endorsed it yesterday, which is to roll out a plan to impose term limits and outside oversight of the Supreme Court. Term limits on the Supreme Court justices, outside, read political oversight of the Supreme Court. Nice Supreme Court you got there, but we don't like those decisions. We didn't like Dobbs. We didn't like Chevron.
Yeah.
And a few others.
Presidential immunity. They didn't like.
And now we got to do something about you.
We've had term limits for presidents of the United States for nearly 75 years after the Truman administration. And I believe we should have term limits for Supreme Court justices of the United States as well. In fact, the United States is the only major constitutional democracy that gives lifetime seats in their high court. Term limits would help ensure that the court membership changes with some regularity. That would make timing for the court's nomination more predictable and less arbitrary. Reduce the chance that any single presidency imposes undue influence in generations to come.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. What say you? You know, most conservatives are for term limits, at least for legislators. What about term limits for Supreme Court justices? Good idea? Is Biden stumbled into an insight here? Well, as the Wall Street Journal opined, never mind the spectacle of a man in public office for 50 years demanding term limits. Just ignore that for a second.
His whole career has been in politics, but okay.
Right. He's been in public office for 50 years since he was 29 years old, but we need some, we need regularity in terms of changing out the personnel that govern us. Oh, sure. Okay. Excluding you and your colleagues, of course. I understand, but just let's focus on the proposal.
Ethics codes for justices, presidential immunity. And the vice president, she did give her stamp of approval saying, quote, "These popular reforms will help to restore confidence in the court, strengthen our democracy," we love that word, "and ensure that no one is above the law." But it's not surprising. They change everything. They wanted to get Trump. They wanted to bankrupt him, so they changed the statute of limitations on a civil suit so E. Jean Carroll could sue him. They just change the rules all the time. Biden's not winning. We'll put Kamala in.
Of course, what he says about the predictability and regularity and will reduce the influence of one particular president for generations to come, so forth. That's not really true. In point of fact, Adam White, who served on Biden's Judicial Commission in 2021, argues that term limits would make the Supreme Court, would tie Supreme Court vacancies and appointments even more to presidential elections. It would further erode the appearance of judicial independence, make the court a spoil not just of politics, but of presidential politics exclusively. Right. You'd be completely beholden to the person who is potentially going to appoint you. Of course you would.
They want to reform the court because they don't control it. And this is not going to pass Congress, but they're just trying to turn this into an election issue.
Well, it's not going to pass Congress, but that's not the point. The point is that this is now the received position of the new Marxists that run the Democrat Party.
Yep.
By the way, the all this ethics business. First of all, there's no crisis of ethics in the court. This, making false allegations against Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito doesn't constitute a crisis in ethics. There already is a judicial a code of conduct that Supreme Court justices must abide, and it mirrors the judicial conference. In addition to that, the point made, a salient one, is that to subject the court to outside political oversight, that doesn't provide more ethics oversight. It provides more opportunity for more political interference. Going back to the Journal's editorial, the justices already have a code of conduct they enforce, nearly the same as the judicial code, as I mentioned. I think it's a conference to the judicial code. The difference is the demand for outside enforcement. Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee want lower court judges to investigate charges of ethics violations and then rule on the justices' behavior. This is an invitation for partisans to besiege the court with complaints, however trivial. If you want to know how that would go, consider the last month the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals stopped accepting duplicative complaints about Judge Eileen Cannon, who was the judge presiding in the Trump documents case, who just dismissed it, as you know. The circuit court received more than 1,000 complaints in a week against Judge Cannon as part of what it called an orchestrated campaign. Of course it was. Yeah. We don't like your holdings because we don't like that you're ruling in favor of the defendant, and so now we're going to go after you and your seat on the bench. So it does basically what Biden suggested it would do. It does 180 degrees the opposite. Grant and Rockford, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, you guys. I'm no constitutional expert here, but I thought that was the original intent of the Supreme Court with the life sentences, life appointments, was that they would be unencumbered by such things as term limits and the politics of the day. And did I got that right, Dan?
You have that right, which is why it requires a constitutional amendment to move this reform.
And
quote unquote,
hold on
reform.
1 second. Now, there's about 37 Republican governors in the United States, correct? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's not going anywhere, but the fact it's not going anywhere is not the point. What Democrats do a better job of than Republicans, certainly, and especially these new Bolsheviks in charge of the Democrats, they stake out positions. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but they've just put a marker down for a goal.
Yep.
And they will pursue that goal relentlessly until they achieve it or are destroyed in the process. And we better destroy them, and I mean that politically, as a movement, as the power structure of a major political party in this country. George in Libertyville.
Hey, Dan, been a while. Hope you've been well. I'm just curious, for the average person listening to your show, what else has to be seen and witnessed for people to start understanding exactly what the hell is going on? I mean, this is like scary already. So
yeah,
that's all I have to say, pal.
Thanks for the call, George. Appreciate
They're
it.
secretly recording justices, to try and get them to say something incriminating at private parties. They're pulling out all the stops.
Yeah.
And then they're doing this.
Right. I mean, somebody had an assassination plot against Judge Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that either. In addition to the
Ford, that whole lie.
In addition to the Dobbs leak, there's another investigation that has gone nowhere and will go nowhere. I'm not sure that Justice Roberts wants it to go anywhere. I'm skeptical of his intentions on that. Right. I mean, but the problem, to George's point, how much more do you have to see? The problem is that they're not imposing this on half the country. Half the country has adopted the means to end philosophy of politics that the new Bolsheviks sport. So they're cheering them on. Half the country, or let's say 40% of the country, is cheering them on as they destroy one institution after the other because they have convinced 40% of the country Trump, MAGA Republicans are Nazis and they must be stopped at all costs. But hey, thoughts and prayers when he almost gets assassinated. A little bit.
Maybe he was assassinated.
A little bit of a tell there. A little bit of a tell. He's Hitler. Thoughts and prayers. Hope he gets better. Interesting. Okay. But they've convinced 40% of the country that forget any guardrails. There are no lines that cannot be crossed. There are no institutions that cannot be torn asunder because we have to stop the new Hitler and his new Nazi party from seizing control and ending the republic and so on and so forth. It's the hyperbole that has been attendant to political rhetoric in this country for a long time, like since its founding. The difference is we have such an ill-educated public, and mostly talking about college grads, that 40% of the country cheer it on, and that's enough of a constituency for people with autocratic impulses to pursue them. And that's what's happening. Ben in Crown Point.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. My comment about this is, once again, the Democrats are putting out there that, we just need to pass legislation, ignoring the unconstitutionality of it. They're putting out unconstitutional laws, which is, to me, sedition, because they know it's unconstitutional, and they're doing it anyway to convince the ignorant that it's okay, and then they get all mad when the Supreme Court or whoever does finally rule it unconstitutional. Oh, how can you be so,
right?
Against the people? I mean, you know what I mean, Dan. It's always they hit the ignorant, and then it just turns into it's all everybody else's fault when they started it.
They're always looking for the next moral panic to excite the mob.
Whatever happened to coexisting branches of government?
Co-equal, yes.
Yeah.
Carl in North Lake.
Good morning, Ben and Amy. He talked about the doing something that would affect generations to come. Yeah, the Green New Deal screws everybody for generations to come. But my biggest point is, the infinite wisdom of our founding fathers to have co-equal but separate branches of the government. And would the Democrats really be doing this if they had a liberal majority, the justices that ruled upon liberalism versus the majority that is now that rule based upon the Constitution? The answer is no, because they hate the Constitution.
Thanks for the call, Carl.
Yeah, if the decisions they wanted to go their way went their way, they wouldn't be doing this.
Bill,
they just want to control everything.
Bill in LaSalle County.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. The one thing to remember, everybody needs to remember, is look at the two most recent situations in South America. In Brazil, when the socialist guy took over, the first thing he did, well, it was already kind of in place, was he utilized the Socialist Supreme Court of Brazil to rule in his favor on everything against Bolsonaro, and Bolsonaro challenged the elections. Number two is you always got Maduro, and just look at about the rigged election again, and the fact that Anthony Blinken is so concerned about a rigged election in Venezuela, but he could give a damn about all the voter integrity issues that are in our own country.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Mike, Littleton, Colorado.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call. All this anarchy and everything else is all tied together. What's true and what's not true, is not important anymore to these people. It's throw everything into a bowl and you pick the idea out that favors you, and that's what the public is doing. Oh, well, I like this idea better. Right and wrong doesn't even matter, and when you have an inauthentic electorate, I mean, look at these people, right? Chicago strong. I'm Philly strong. We have this electorate, right, that pretends to be tough and pretends to be smart. And I mean, they couldn't beat their air out of a wet paper bag in a fight. They have no idea of anything. It's just they have all of this, false virtue or whatever. And listen, you know what? We've written in 42 years, I calculated it. If there was such a thing as a Visa card with $1 million limit, the Congress, this government, through manipulation of the public this way, has issued 36 million of these Visa cards and maxed them out. That's how we're at $36 trillion in debt. So it's the electorate. All of these politicians are just a mirror of the electorate. And I don't know what we do about it. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Joanne, Hoffman Estates.
Hi. I just wanted to say that it's really not that confusing, okay? They're doing this because they can. That's it. Pure and simple.
Thanks.
They can.
Thanks, Joanne.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, they want you to think that unlimited data is fantastic. Well, the fact is, it's not. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data that you need. For just $25 a month, you get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 5 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Save money, same service with Pure Talk.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Suburban Welding and Steel is your local welding, fabricating, and repair shop where service and quality is number one. Their dedicated team of experts can repair a job on site or in their shop located in Franklin Park. They have the machinery needed to get your project completed with the craftsmanship and precision so you can get back to business. Suburban Welding and Steel services more than just the manufacturing industry. They also service the food industry, heavy equipment, trucking, airports, and railroads. Walk-ins are also welcome, so if you need it welded, repaired, fabricated, or modified, Suburban Welding and Steel will do the laser cutting, machining, forming, and plate rolling for you, or they have the materials you need in stock and ready for the purchase. And if you know a hardworking person looking for a career in the trade, Suburban Welding and Steel is looking to add to their team of experts. Visit suburbanweldingandsteel.com to see the full story on what they can do for you. SuburbanWeldingandSteel.com.
At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, we honor traditions, celebrate faith, and cherish memories. Take an active role in establishing your legacy for future generations by pre-planning your final arrangements today. Alleviate your loved ones of future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of interest-free financing and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
How the Constitution unified our nation and could again. Yuval Levin, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, joins us at 7:07.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Donald Trump to attend the National Association of Black Journalists Convention here in Chicago. Governor Pritzker doesn't believe a Bears stadium deal will get done this year, maybe ever. Cook County Treasurer offers a new property tax payment calculator. And a man who died after falling at Starved Rock State Park has been identified. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
She's going to another battleground state.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Vice President Harris will go to Georgia for the first time since taking over as the presumptive Democratic nominee, as State President Biden won 4 years ago.
She is going to be joined by the rapper Megan Thee Stallion on stage, as on TV, her campaign is trying to reintroduce her to battleground state voters with $50 million worth of ads like this one.
The one thing Kamala Harris has always been: fearless.
Donald Trump wants to take our country backward, but we are not going back.
The Trump campaign right now, though, can only focus their resources on Harris because they don't know who the VP nominee is going to be.
Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House. Former President Trump tells Fox
She's sort of incompetent. She's not very smart, but she's very radical.
And he also says this about Vice President Harris.
That laugh, that's the laugh of a crazy person.
This is Democrats now call him weird. Will there be a Trump-Harris debate?
If you're going to have a debate, you got to do it, I think, before the votes are cast. I think it's very important that you do that. So the answer is yes, but I can also make a case for not doing it.
The Harris campaign says he's backpedaling. The former president had agreed to a September 10th debate when President Biden was still running. As for the assassination attempt, former President Trump again praised the Secret Service on stage with him and the sniper who took out the gunman.
They were very brave. I have to say that. Okay, with that being said, should have been somebody on the roof. There should have been communication with the local police, which there wasn't.
Now, in 2 hours, the Secret Service's new acting director will testify at a Senate hearing about security lapses at that Trump rally. Another skirmish in Lebanon. Hezbollah claims it forced Israeli warplanes to turn back. Israel's vowed to retaliate to a weekend Hezbollah rocket attack that killed 12 children in the Golan Heights. In England, a third child has died from a knife attack that pop superstar Taylor Swift says has left her in shock. 10 others were injured. The stabbing spree took place at a children's dance class with Swift's music as the theme. America's listening to Fox.
70 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Former President Donald Trump coming to Chicago this week. His campaign says he'll attend and speak at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention tomorrow. Governor Pritzker doesn't believe a deal for a new taxpayer-funded Bears Stadium in the city of Chicago will get done this year.
I've made it clear to the Bears leadership that it would be near impossible to get anything done if there was a proposal put on the table by them that could get done. You couldn't actually get it done probably during the veto session and would have to wait until next spring.
The governor has repeatedly expressed reluctance to using any public funds to build private stadiums. Cook County Treasurer is offering a new online tool designed to help Cook County residents who've received a major property tax increase this year that may push them out of their homes.
It does make sense as a start. Once again, it's not the end all, but it is a start in the right direction to help people to try to stay in their homes.
That's Harvey Mayor Christopher Clark, who says Maria Pappas's payment plan calculator can help residents pay off past due property tax bills. Fire damaging a West Suburban church and school on Monday morning.
I'm told that the fire started on the back of the building back there, which both our electric service and, unfortunately, the gas main were.
Bill Merchant is with the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Downers Grove Fire Chief Scott Spinizzola says the cause remains under investigation. Chicago sports. Well, the Cubs had just 3 hits in a 7-1 loss to the Reds at Great American Ballpark, while the White Sox are on a 15-game losing streak following an 8-5 loss to the Royals. The Blackhawks bringing back a pair of players, signing defenseman Isaac Phillips and Louis Crevier to 1-year deals. The news, a service of Health Insurance Mentors. Are you 65 or older and thinking about Medicare? Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Call Stephen Tucker today for free Medicare advice. HealthInsuranceMentors.com or call 630-674-1551. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk doesn't hear a reason.
Listen carefully. He does not tell you why. Now, we think we know why. Is it poll numbers? Was it threats? Was it intimidation? Was it they go after your kids? What is it, Joe Biden? He won't tell you. Is Joe Biden really going that willingly? And does Joe Biden harbor resentment?
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Jerry Paget, the second enlisted in the U.S. Navy and deployed multiple times to Iraq and Afghanistan until Jerry was catastrophically injured in an improvised explosive device blast. Now, Jerry received a new smart home thanks to our friends at the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Now, the home is in the foundation's Let Us Do Good Village. It's in Florida, and Jerry now lives more independently thanks to the specially adaptive technologies. Commit to $11 a month, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Honey, what are we going to do with your grandparents' old coins and jewelry?
I'm pretty sure they're worth some money.
You've been saying that for years.
Okay, how about PGS Gold and Coin? They're the best when it comes to selling family valuables.
And you know this because...
PGS, when it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
Do that again.
PGS, when it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
Isn't that the place Jeff sold his grandmother's jewelry when she passed?
Yep, he checked out pgsgoldandcoin.com and found tons of positive reviews. He was blown away by how much he got. Do you? Oh, you're already on the site.
Almost. pgsgoldandcoin.com.
PGS Gold and Coin, the upscale way of selling your coins, jewelry, diamonds, and collectibles. Family owned and operated for over 14 years. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, now with 4 Chicagoland locations. And they make house calls. 888-416-2701 or pgsgoldandcoin.com.
PGS. When it comes to your valuables, they're the best.
70 degrees at 7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on 390, the toll road going eastbound. Still jammed up, Meacham to Rolling. Residual delays from an earlier stalled vehicle that backed up things onto 290. DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 2 left lanes blocked. Vehicle into the wall southbound between Marquette and 67. Eisenhower, they've cleared a stalled semi inbound right at 390. 54 minutes into the old post office and tough sledding through the avenues this morning. Traffic is a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Sun and clouds today. Wildfire smoke causing the sky to be hazy. High 92. Partly cloudy, humid, a heavy thunderstorm late tonight. Some flash flooding possible. Low 70. Partly sunny, a thunderstorm in spots tomorrow. High 87. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
70 at O'Hare, 72 Midway, 66 in Aurora, 67 in Lansing. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Following on Israeli PM Bibi Netanyahu's speech before the joint meeting of Congress last week, and the moral clarity that we got from a Western leader, not anybody in this country, but a Western leader nonetheless, finally, I've been looking for it, not from Western Europe, from Israel. Whether you think of Bibi Netanyahu, the unvarnished truth that he delivered about what happened on October 7th, about what's been happening since, about these Iranian-funded and campus Marxist-inspired quote-unquote protesters. A lot of truth there. Douglas Murray is a British author. I'm sure some of our listeners are familiar with him. He's very good. Yeah, he focuses a lot on religious extremism as well as, the autocratic impulses of so many in the West. Somebody else that's very interested in preserving Western civilization. He gave a speech to a French television program on anti-Semitism. It was very good. So it's short. It's 10 minutes. I'll retweet it. It's worth listening to the whole thing. But let me give you just one comparison he made that I think is particularly poignant. And it's really a grim indictment of the West.
Consider this. In every European capital, as well as in America, photographs of the Israeli hostages still in captivity by Hamas have been put up. And in every city outside of Israel, they have been torn down. Think about that for a moment. If someone in London or Paris loses their dog, they will put up a poster asking people to help find them. And if even one person in our society went around tearing down such a poster, we would ask what had happened in our society. We would ask why we were producing people so pathological. We would want to find the person and punish them. Yet when the missing are Jewish children, or Jewish women, or Jewish men, because there's no crime in being a man either.
Smattering of applause to
These
that.
posters are torn down.
How's that for a commentary? Because when you listen to it, you know what he's saying is true. That's the sad thing. Yuval Levin is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. He's got a new book out that was treated to rave reviews by Barton Swaim over at the Wall Street Journal, I hasten to add. The book is American Covenant, How the Constitution Unified Our Nation and Could Again. Yuval Levin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
So can the Constitution cure that, what Douglas Murray's talking about?
Well, I think a reacquaintance with our political tradition can bring us back to basics. And in a way, what he's talking about really is getting back to basics. And how do we recall the fundamental principles that our politics has to operate by? I think that's what we're missing now. We've built too much distance between ourselves and those, and we've forgotten what our tradition can offer us. And, among the things it can offer us is a more unified society, not one where everybody agrees, but one where everybody lives together based on some shared common principles. And I think we've gotten too far from that.
You wrote this piece in the Free Press. I like this line. This was in part commenting on the reactions, particularly of people who don't like Trump, to the failed assassination attempt of Trump. And you wrote, pretending to be a better person than you are is a pretty good way to become a better person than you are. I kind of like that, but explain what you were referencing.
In one sense, that's just a summary of all of Aristotle's ethics. But I think in another sense, what it really means is that we should have standards, and we should expect people to prove who they are by how they behave, not by the things they say, not by the slogans that they throw at us, but by how they behave in a moment of tension, of crisis, in a moment that demands something of us. What we find is that even the people who hold themselves up as high and mighty in those moments tend to be petty, tend to be bitter. I think we have seen a lot of that lately in our politics, and I think we should always judge people by how they behave. If they're willing to say that they've learned something from a moment like that horrendous attempted assassination, okay, but they said that for 5 minutes and then got right back to calling everybody they don't like a fascist. And I don't think that's how our politics can work.
It's interesting, too, and that you raised that point. Gerald Posner, who's an investigative journalist, he made that point, too, thinking about how quickly the rebound back to pre-assassination attempt rhetoric happened as compared to, say, when JFK was assassinated, and and some of those people that were accusing JFK of being a Manchurian candidate for the Soviets and treasonous and so on and so forth, they quieted down, and the nation stopped for weeks. Not the case anymore.
Yeah, I mean, in that era, between the early 60s and the early 70s, we lived through a period of just tremendous political violence that I think ultimately did pull us back from the brink. Things were very dark, of course, by the late 60s. And somehow America did pull itself together and come back from that brink. I hope that we can do that again, but I hope we can do it without having to go through what they went through. I mean, look, we think our moment is very divided and very embittered, and it is. But we forget what our country lived through in that period and what political violence can really mean. I hope we don't have to learn before we can recognize that, that whatever you think of people's politics, calling them a fascist and an enemy of democracy is an invitation to political violence. People will take you seriously, and we do have to be careful how we talk about each other.
We were just talking before you joined us about the Biden proposal to impose term limits on the Supreme Court and subject Supreme Court justices essentially to outside political oversight, from the putative self-appointed champions and saviors of democracy. I mean, the Constitution can be amended; it has been amended. So, any big deal here?
I mean, look, first of all, the first thing to say about it is what they're proposing is blatantly unconstitutional. The Constitution specifically provides judges with lifetime tenure. You could amend it, but I don't think they believe they have the votes to amend it. I think they just want to say this and then be stopped by the Constitution so that they can continue to delegitimize the court and say, we're trying to do the right thing, and the Constitution and the court won't let us, which is creating the occasion for delegitimizing our political tradition in a very dangerous way. But more than that, this is actually exactly what lifetime tenure is meant to prevent. What they're saying is, we don't like the way the court is deciding cases, and so we want to get rid of the judges. It's exactly that kind of attitude that led the framers of the Constitution to say that judges should be protected from the swings of public opinion in a way that can allow them to focus on the Constitution and the laws and not be afraid of mobocracy, right? And what we're looking at here is exactly why it is unconstitutional to do what they want to do. And I don't even think it matters to the people making this argument. They're using this as a
Hello?
Did we lose Yuval? Hello?
Yuval, are you there?
Hello?
Oh, sorry, you cut out there for a second. You were just saying that the argument doesn't matter to the people making it. Go on.
Yeah, look, I think they're not even trying to persuade us to adopt a constitutional amendment, right? That would take a massive public consensus, which we're not going to have. They're just trying to turn people against the courts. And, to say that while claiming to be the defenders of American constitutionalism or our democracy is a disgrace.
But eventually they always get what they want, it seems to me. Do you think that'll happen?
I think they won't get this. I think that will not happen in this case. It really would take a constitutional amendment. And, we're a divided society. We haven't had an amendment of any kind in a very long time now, in more than 30 years. I don't think they'll get what they want here, unless what they want is just public outrage that at the court that delegitimizes the system and gets them more voters. I guess they'll get that.
Well, that's the short term for sure. And I know both parties have had their dalliances with this, but it seems now central to the way the Democrats communicate, which is just to instigate temper tantrums from their base.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's not really about winning substantive policy advances, which you do by negotiating and bargaining in American politics. It's about riling people up so that they think that everything depends on the next election and the stakes are absolute. And look, what you get that way may be a narrow election victory, but it can also be a very dangerous kind of political instability.
And, I know you talked about not going through what we went through in the 60s, hopefully, not all of it. There are a lot of parallels, not just political violence, but also part of this, the skullduggery of the alphabet soup law enforcement agencies, the CIA and the FBI, and their focus on covering their backsides more than facing a reckoning for misdeeds and lack of disclosure. And we have that going on too. And for all the talk, we were addressing this a bit earlier in the program, for all the talk of the hyperbolic, demagogic rhetoric from politicians and their surrogates, the performance of the FBI post January 6th, and with respect to that investigation, the performance now of the Secret Service and the FBI so far, not just on that day in Butler, Pennsylvania, but subsequent to it, and the disposition to not gather evidence, understand what happened, present it for public scrutiny with the accompanying evidence, and let the American people hash it out and think about it and come to terms with it. The lack of doing that, it to me is more destabilizing than calling Trump Hitler.
So look, I think that last point is key, that I don't know how to run presidential security. I don't know how to run legal investigations, but the FBI and the Secret Service and other institutions of our government have to be open and upfront and accountable. They have to help us see how they're doing their jobs. They have to come clean when they've done something wrong, which happens. I think that it becomes very difficult to trust them when they don't allow us to see what they're up to and what they're doing and not doing. I think there were serious crimes to investigate after January 6th. There are serious challenges in protecting a presidential candidate. But these institutions have to be willing to tell us what they learn from their own mistakes. Otherwise, it becomes impossible to trust them. And that's really the analogy here. What happened at the end of the 60s is a collective.
Wait, did we lose him again? Like a connection problem? Yuval, are you still with us?
Hello?
Oh, Yuval?
Yep, I'm still here.
Oh, sorry, we cut out again. But anyway, what happened at the end of the 60s?
Sorry about that.
No
this
problem.
Must be my fault. I mean, look, what happened there was a loss of trust in American elites and institutions. And that is exactly what we're living through now. The analogies are a little scary. I think all of you in Chicago thinking about 1968 must find those analogies troubling. And here we are again.
Yuval Levin is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. His new book, American Covenant, How the Constitution Unified Our Nation and Could Again. Yuval, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Good luck with the book.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you have high blood pressure, listen to this story. Ira was given a grim diagnosis about his blood pressure. His doctor warned it's sky high. If he didn't get it down in 3 weeks, he was going to need surgery. So Ira began exercising, went on medication. But what seemed to be the miracle change, his diet. After thorough research and consulting with a nutritionist friend, Ira concocted a juice from foods that work like natural blood pressure medicines. 2 weeks later, his blood pressure dropped 30 points. What helped save Ira's life, amazed his doctor, is now available to you. Ira and his nutritionist founded 120 Life, a delicious juice and powdered mix with natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now, 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout.
All right, pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much, but there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And we're not talking drugs or surgery or cortisone shots. Listen, there's exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief. And the place to go is QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties. Think about it. When you cut your hand, eventually it heals. So this can revitalize your joints, so you can move again. You can live again. And if you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or an injury, you need to know steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future, folks, of medicine, so call for a free consultation. They'll walk you through the process. They have new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee, and Saturday appointments available. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Do you have jewelry with sentimental value that needs repairing? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I'm a customer of family-owned Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville because it's a place I trust. Their in-house master jeweler does impeccable work, and jewelry comes back repaired in perfect condition and looks the same as the day you bought it. That's a great feeling. Roland's also specializes in custom design. They'll work with you every step of the way to make your dream jewelry idea come to life. The Rollins family is expertly trained to give you outstanding customer service, earning 5-star Google ratings. Now that's impressive. Visit Rollins Jewelers' beautiful showroom in downtown Libertyville for all of your jewelry needs. Visit RollandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS Jewelers.com, or call or text them at 847-918-7300. 847-918-7300. Rollins Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust.
Hi, I'm Charlie Moon. I've been in the trading game for almost 20 years, and I just discovered the most powerful trading tool I've ever seen. So if you're trading stocks or options, then listen up. This new AI-powered trade finder can find you stocks to consider trading, which have had gains as high as 1,729% and have had nearly perfect win rates. It analyzes the entire stock market in seconds and pumps out a list of trades for you to consider every single morning. And the trades it finds can be potentially profitable regardless of which direction the market is moving. So if you want in on this action, listen closely. For a short amount of time, I'm opening up free access to some of these picks and giving you the chance to get top trade ideas from the AI Trade Finder every day for 100% free. Just text TRADE to 76626. Stop trying to find the right stocks to trade on your own. Just text TRADE to 76626 now and get access to the top trades our AI finds every single day. Text TRADE to 76626. Standard text and data rates may apply. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Text TRADE to 76626.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Keene Jr. of the Mail House, Inc., a family-owned and operated digital print mail house with a specialty in political advertising and a customer of Signature Bank. We knew that getting a loan to buy our business wouldn't be easy, so we turned to one of our trusted friends for a referral. She told us about the outstanding level of customer service her business received at Signature Bank since becoming one of their first customers in 2006. Today, we couldn't be happier. Not only did Signature help us finance the purchase of the mail house, but they supported our growth as we modernized our operations in mailing as well as from traditional to digital printing. If you're looking for a great bank to grow your business, take a look at Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
How would you like to finally lose all those unwanted pounds quickly without spending thousands on painful injections or prescriptions? Hi, it's Donna Simpson, health and wellness expert. You probably know someone that is using Ozempic, the hottest diet craze in the country. Everyone knows about this prescription injection. Celebs use it to look their best. The problem is most of us can't afford Ozempic, and these injections can be so uncomfortable. Now you can lose the weight just as easily, but with no needles, no expensive prices, no side effects, and no worries. You need to try Lozempic, a new miracle weight loss breakthrough that performs so well it's been called nature's Ozempic. Lozempic is an easy-to-take diet pill now available without a prescription, being used by thousands to get rid of those unwanted pounds. So call now and find out how to get a free bottle.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Lozempic, call 800-686-2430, 800-686-2430. Free bottles for limited time, so call 800-686-2430. That's 800-686-2430.
AM 560, The Answer.
You want to hear from another member of the coven for Kamala?
Sure.
Let me introduce you to Angela Bel Camino. She's put a little artistic flair in her support. She's got a little video, little ditty. Sing along if you would.
Being child-free threatens the patriarchy. We don't need no man. We can do everything he can. Busted. I'm a bold lib. Taylor's on my side. I'm a bold lib. MAGA starts to cry. What? I'm a bold lib. And Taylor's on my side. Yeah, she is. I'm a bold lib. MAGA starts to cry.
What do you think? It's very it feels like very like early 80s, like like Howard Jonesy. Yeah.
Does not blow wind up my skirt, as some would say.
Doesn't put starch in your shorts like P-Butt was feeling on the honky men for Kamala call.
Embarrassing. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It turns out that Governor Jelly Belly is a governor that only Illinois' new Bolsheviks, and Jim Edgar, of course, could love. 7:37 with Ted Dabrowski, our weekly confab.
But first, we have to stop by that newsroom and say hello once again to Mike Scott.
I don't know. Can things only get better? I don't know. Maybe. It's possible. That's one of Howard Jones's best.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Yes.
7:31 on AM 560, The Answer. Multiple landslides triggered by torrential rains in southern India killed 93. Many others feared trapped. British police are questioning a suspect and working to understand what motivated a 17-year-old boy to attack during a dance and yoga class. 3 are dead, 10 are in serious to critical condition. Democrats are trying to rally behind President Biden's unpopular call for a Supreme Court overhaul.
The court's being used to weaponize an extreme and unchecked agenda. This decision is a total affront to the basic expectations we have for those who wield the power in this nation.
Vice President Kamala Harris, considered the Democrat nominee for president now, says she's backing the Biden proposal. Also this morning, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper is reportedly removing himself from consideration to be Vice President Harris's potential running mate. We hear similar words coming from Michigan and that governor, Gretchen Whitmer. And Speaker Mike Johnson and House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries are announcing the 7 Republicans and 6 Democrats who will make up the task force to investigate the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. The panel will be led by Congressman Mike Kelly, who represents Butler, Pennsylvania. Former President Donald Trump is coming to Chicago this week. His campaign says he's attending the National Association of Black Journalists Convention tomorrow. Trump will participate in a Q&A. Governor J.B. Pritzker still won't say whether he's being vetted to be the Democrats' next vice presidential candidate. 1 woman is dead following an apartment fire in Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood. It happened yesterday. 7 others escaped the blaze. An Illinois congressman took part in a major discussion about concerns of a Chinese company building batteries in Illinois and Michigan. Congressman Darren LaHood took part in that roundtable on Goshen's ties to the Chinese Communist Party.
In our extensive work on the Select Committee on China, we have uncovered disturbing ties between Goshen, the CCP, and forced labor, which raise serious concerns about our national and economic security.
Goshen is slated to receive over $8 billion taxpayer dollars in federal and state subsidies for the Manteno project. Cubs lost to the Reds 7-1, while the White Sox are on a 15-game losing skid following an 8-5 loss to the Royals. And then they ramp up their fire sale ahead of the trade deadline, completing a 3-team deal with the Cardinals and Dodgers yesterday. Eric Fetty and outfielder Tommy Pham go to St. Louis. Reliever Michael Kopech to the Dodgers. The news, a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It has been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years.
The worst president in the history of our country.
The best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
We have a new victim to defeat.
She's tough. She's capable.
Lion Kamala Harris.
What happens next happens here.
Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe.
We face a choice.
This is your breaking news and election station. AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. Last week, Congressman John Molinar hosted a roundtable in Michigan where national security experts on China gave testimony about the lithium battery company Goan's ties to the Communist Chinese Party and slave labor in China. Experts repeatedly and unequivocally stated that Goan is part of China's program to control critical infrastructure and technology of the future that has dual purposes in both the military and civilian sectors. In his opening remarks, Congressman Molinar said our military want nothing to do with Goan, as the Department of Defense is prohibited from buying the company's batteries. Others noted that EV batteries cannot be made without input from China, and those inputs are mined and processed on the backs of slave labor in the Xinjiang industrial region. They noted that per Chinese law, Goan must act as a spy apparatus and transfer technology they acquire. Congressman Darren LaHood said China has a plan to replace the United States in all ways, technologically, militarily, economically, and diplomatically, and they are working on that every day. Ambassador Joseph Sella stated that the U.S. is in a Cold War with the CCP. He said that all parties involved in the Goan deal are naive. So are the people of Illinois for letting Pritzker sign the $536 million deal with Goan behind closed doors. Everything mentioned about Goan above and its ties to the CCP and slave labor was knowable at the time Pritzker cut this deal. He ignored the information to pursue his green energy fantasies. Manteno, Illinois residents are fighting to stop Goan from building the lithium battery plant. Join them in the fight. Visit dumpgoan.com and tell your state legislator to end the Goan deal now. Americans should not subsidize our enemies or slave labor. I'm Jeannie Ives. To learn more, listen to my radio show on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Wow, she loves it. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and I'm talking about a woman that I met at the pool. Arthritis robbed her of so much, but there's effective ways to deal with that pain without drugs or surgery. She went to QC Kinetics. They use cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizes your joints so you can move again. So if you're living with chronic pain like my new friend I met at the pool, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, and restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. Call them today for a free consultation. They'll walk you through the process, tell you how it all works. They have new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee, and Saturday appointments are available. 312-809-5955. Write it down, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
7:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Clearing an accident in Roselle at Central Avenue and Roselle Road. Also in West Chicago, an accident, Roosevelt and Joliet. On the Reagan, your stop and go eastbound between Route 59 and Washington. Tri-State jamming up northbound between 75th and 31st. Dan Ryan stop and go inbound in the locals between 51st and the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny, little wildfire smoke leaking in, causing some haze with a high of 92. Partly cloudy and 70 right now. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor.
for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said when
Top of the morning,
moving
Dan
out.
and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. And boy, what do we have here?
What?
This can't be.
What?
Our very own Governor Jelly Belly,
What's he doing
cause
now?
celeb among new Bolsheviks in Illinois, is bringing up the rear in swing states among new Bolsheviks in those swing states when the question is who should be Reparation H's running mate. In Arizona, he gets 0.2%.
Uh-oh.
In Georgia, he's last in every poll. In Georgia, he gets 2.4%.
Ruh-roh.
Bernie Sanders, 21% leads. Pennsylvania, obviously Shapiro, he gets 0.5% in Pennsylvania. In Wisconsin, he gets 4.1%, still in last. In Michigan, he gets 1.1%, also last. I guess, as I said, Governor Pritzker.
Who?
This governor, yeah.
No, I know, because they knew who our mayor was, but they didn't know who our governor was. Back in 2020, when I was traveling a lot of places.
Oh, well, he's hosting the DNC. Maybe it's just that our governor Jelly Belly there, this smarmy, entitled, humorless, Brock-sized candy-ass tub of goo of a governor just isn't that popular.
But he tried so hard. Remember, he had speaking engagements in Florida.
He went to New Hampshire. Yeah,
I wasn't done with my list.
He went right after. He went right after Governor Ron DeSantis. He was right there competing with the Eva Peron of East Lansing and
Gavin Newsom
and excuse me, Governor. Now you made me. What what's my handle? Patrick Bateman, Governor Patrick Bateman of California. Huh.
What happened? I'm so surprised.
I
0.2% in Arizona. Wow.
There, you're going to have to, hey, new Bolsheviks here in Illinois, you're going to have to do more to prop up your boy. For more on this, Ted Dabrowski, president of wirepoints.org, joins us. Ted, what's going on?
Good morning,
there?
Dan. Good morning, Amy.
I don't understand. Is it Wisconsin? People certainly know who Jelly Belly is in Wisconsin.
He has a vacation home there. He spends millions of dollars on property.
He's got a big spread in Lake Geneva, and a house in addition to the food. And maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just the sort of like the cheeseheads have a little bit more common sense than Illinoisans when it comes to seeing him for the Spalding he really is behind the polish of his suit and combed hair.
Yeah, when Emerson Polling came out with this poll, I was curious because they announced that he was at the bottom, and it's pretty much the same thing among all registered voters. He didn't come in last place in which one was that, Wisconsin, but he came in next to last place. But he was in last.
No, that's the place. He's behind Cooper in Wisconsin too.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, among all registered voters, then he was, which is down. We ran the numbers, so we ran both for Democratic voters and for.
Oh, I see. I see.
Right, and so even within his own party, that's where he finished last among everybody.
Right.
And so such a brutal hit to a guy who he's got his Think Big campaign. He's been spending money in Ohio on the abortion cause. Of course, he's given money in Wisconsin to judges there to support the abortion cause. He has made it sound, and he even had me thinking that he would maybe poll decently. But man, in Arizona among the Democrats. Right, 0.2% of the vote. It's almost like he didn't exist.
Well, yeah. There's no question about that. But I mean, it's one of those things. It's like we'll take your money, Flounder, but it doesn't mean you get to run the group, right?
Well, that's very true, and that's what he's got. And this is one of the big issues that we pointed out in our piece that we wrote is that part of it is that we didn't know how popular or unpopular he is, but if you think about Illinois, people might say, well, yeah, but he's done really well in Illinois, and the comeback to that is, well, he bought both of his elections here. He spent $170 million on each election to buy it, and he even paid $35 million for Darren Bailey to get to win on the Republican side. So it's hard to know who this guy is, but this poll is really damning for him, and whatever national ambitions he has, he's going to have to rethink things a little bit because he's not as big as he thinks he is.
Can he reintroduce himself at the DNC convention? Do we know what slot he has yet to speak?
I'm not aware of exactly what he has on that, and of course you can bet he's going to try to have a big position. But I think the other part that we have to introduce is that maybe he's a little too extreme even for his own party. Maybe I don't know. That's hard to say these days. But,
I don't know that he's too extreme for his own party. I just don't think he's particularly attractive with so many respects. I mean, and it doesn't mean that you can't ultimately, by hook or by crook, rise to the top. Look at Kamala Harris. She's also had terrible numbers for her and the entirety of her career. But, you navigate through a one-party state the way that she did. That's like the way that Pritzker did. And, you get a couple of breaks and, hey, look, you're the presidential nominee. So it's still possible to be otherwise distasteful to even look at, much less listen to, and make it. But it's certainly, it's certainly got to be a bit of a shot to his ego to know that his party faithful convening in Chicago in a few weeks don't find him particularly interesting.
No, and one of the arguments would be, well, he's not well known. Arizona, that's far away, but guys like Bashir, and Whitmer and others did a lot better than Pritzker. They weren't in last. He was. So I think that's the big difference. And what's interesting also is that Cooper, what I heard is he's announced that he's going to step out of consideration. Well, he finished pretty much next to last with Pritzker. So
that's a little bit different because I think people don't know who he is as much from North Carolina. Right. But I mean,
Whitmer yesterday said,
but he still did better.
Right.
So how much of his own money do we know did he spend to get the DNC here in Chicago?
I don't know that either. I know I don't know. I just know that a lot of corporations are paying up right now to help out, but I don't know that number.
I'm more interested in how much of our money he's spending, or your money now. I'm not an Illinois resident. So I don't have to pay taxes here. And Pritzker said it's okay. He said it's okay. I don't have to pay taxes. I'm a Florida resident. He agrees. State of Illinois has already paid Goan, that Chinese communist-backed energy battery company that's scheduled to locate in Manteno, build a facility there. The state has already paid $125 million on the $500+ million subsidy. Your colleague Mark Lennon over at WirePoint's reminding us that if the project is finished, because the $125 million was just to secure the land, but if the project is finished and stays in operation, between federal and state subsidies, Goan will be paid 4 times its costs, which is just astounding success for a Chinese communist-backed company when it comes to rent seeking in this country. But what I heard Jeannie Ives's editorial before you joined us, and there is some movement in opposition that looks like it's not a fait accompli that that facility gets built in Manteno.
Well, it's not. There's a lot of pushback. I happen to be with Jeannie in Michigan last week. I actually went to the Darren LaHood and Congressman Molinar, what do you want to call it, summit to talk about the Goan plant in Michigan that's being opposed. And I tell you what, I'm so fired up when I was there because you got a crowd that they fired all 5 trustees that had approved the Goan deal and put on a whole new group of members. And it's great to see the fight and the pushback. And it was a really good, well done summit or panel, and Congressman LaHood was great. But there's a whole bunch of obstacles that are being put up to Goan. They're making sure they're trying to make sure that Goan can't put or these Chinese plants can't build right next to military facilities. There's, the Defense Department has said we will not buy Goshen batteries. There's a lot of strikes against Goshen. They've also found that that Goshen and cattle, which is another group from China, are using slave labor, the Uyghurs. So all these obstacles are coming up, and let's see if it's enough to stop this. It's $8 billion in potential subsidies from the federal and state government for a $2 billion plant. It's absurd, crazy, and I don't know what else to say about it.
Slave labor, huh? Boy, that's an odd company to align with here and subsidize when the power structure in this state is all about the working man and raising the minimum wage and a credible, guarantee for universal basic income, living income that's backed by the government, and yet here they are in bed with communist Chinese slave traders.
Well,
shocking.
Well, that's a big one, and the other part is, of course, that this current administration. You're talking about Lloyd Austin and Blinken and Christopher Wray. They're all very obsessed and worried about China's global espionage campaign, and yet here they are. That same administration is approving all these subsidies to a company that's backed by China and has very strong ties to the CCP. Again, back to the hypocrisy we're so used to.
Now, the $500 million of state subsidies to Goshen, taxpayer dollars to Goshen, didn't bother me as much because I understand from Governor Pritzker that we're flush with cash because Illinois is an economic dynamo and we're growing, we're gaining population. But then I see some of this agitprop that you're putting out at Wire Points alleging, contrary to what the governor said, that over the last 2 decades, we've lost about $700 billion in adjusted gross income, which is, that's a good chunk of change. Why are you conjuring up this information to, be a contrarian to the official position from the governor?
Everything is fine, no problems. No, it's just so easy. The IRS just lays out the data. They know where people are moving to, and the latest year we lost. When we take the people who moved in and the people who moved out, we lost a net $10 billion in adjusted gross income. That's taxable income that we could have taxed. That's like $400 million just from that loss alone on income taxes. And that's just for that year. But when you consider that the year before we lost $11 billion, and the year before that we lost $9 billion, when you start to accumulate all those losses, you realize that today, if you look back at the last 20 years and just say, hey, if we just held steady on population and income, we'd have $3.5 billion more dollars in 2022, in the 2022 budget, to fund all kinds of stuff or to lower taxes or to give people relief. But instead, we're losing these people, we're losing the income, and of course, it's destructive to the tax base. Nobody wants to talk about that, but it's a huge driver of why we're in such a mess.
Somebody needs to investigate the IRS for being part of this conspiracy to embarrass Governor Pritzker with their data.
Carnival Barkers.
Yeah, that's clearly what's going on.
They're working with U-Haul and United Van Lines.
Yes, it's a vast right wing. That's another vast right wing conspiracy. They're always afoot. Do we have any? I guess we don't, because I've read some of the reporting on this. I guess we don't have a handle too on who exactly. Speaking of who's paying for the DNC, we don't really have a handle on that. I know you mentioned he's getting some companies to pony up for it, but we don't have a handle how much Chicago. Not that they care. Chicago or Illinois taxpayers are on the hook for with respect to that. Do we?
No, I don't know, and I haven't looked at it, but. You can bet we are in some way. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Now, I know that there's big money being spent by like some of the corporations, the airline companies and all that, who benefit from more business. But I don't know. But it's worth looking into. So we'll take a look for that.
And why are we having 2 locations, McCormick Place and United Center?
That I don't know either.
That's strange. It's normally in one house.
You got to
one location.
Probably what it is, right? Spread the wealth.
Yeah, absolutely.
More road closures for people.
I mean, look,
more of an inconvenience.
Well, you got to have, you got to break up some of the Genocide Joe and Kamala protesters that are going to descend. By the way, they're going to descend. They're saber rattling right now too. So we'll see how that goes, and if And if Police Chief Snelling lives up to his promise for mass arrests, if there is mass law breaking, we'll see.
That's why we're going to save that soundbite.
Something tells me I think Snelling would like to do a good job. I hope they let him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have a little bit of positive feel about him, but that doesn't mean he's in control, and that doesn't mean he gets to call the shots. So
that's a fair point.
And no time off for police officers. I mean, Lollapalooza starts this Thursday, then you have a week break, and then the DNC comes. And it's all hands on deck.
Well, it's the summer of what summer are we on now? We've had the summer of love. We've had the summer of joy. Oh, the summer of gimme dat.
Oh, the summer of gimme dat.
Ted Dabrowski, president of wirepoints.org. All things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
As everyone can tell, we're living in turbulent times. During times of uncertainty like World War II and 9/11, people have often turned to God. In times like these, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville, Illinois reminds all Americans of the ancient promise found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. This is not a political statement. It's a call to all God-fearing Americans to do as God's word instructs. America needs healing now. Whether you're for the guy on the left or the right or neither, everyone needs to heed the word of God as 2 Chronicles instructs us. May God bless all our leaders and God bless the USA. This message is brought to you by Fox Valley Coins on Route 59, Naperville, Illinois.
It has been confirmed. Those brave Americans who are trying to preserve free speech continue to be censored, shadow banned, or silenced. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to share the liberating ideas of some of America's brightest and most free thinkers, people like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry, whose ideas are putting financial control back in the hands of everyday people, helping them protect their money against a government that seems intent on destroying it. Text TRUTH to 76626 to find out more. As this election moves forward, we just released a report that reveals our 3 favorite ideas for protecting and growing your wealth during the 2024 election. These ideas are especially critical if you have an IRA or 401k. Text TRUTH to 76626. Discover ideas that are so simple and actionable, they might save your retirement.
Plus, today, when you text TRUTH to 76626, you'll get a free gold investment kit from our sponsor, Sasco Gold.
Text TRUTH to 76626. Standard text and data rates may apply.
Have you lost Illinois Medicaid? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost, quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, it's Scott Tucker, host of Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker, heard on AM 560 on Sundays at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. I want to offer you a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? To get your free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Just go to retirementdakota.com. That's retirementdakota.com. And please listen every Sunday at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. Since 1969, we've been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows. From modern to traditional styles, Marvin replacement windows and doors can bring your backyard right into your living space. Make your home feel brighter and more spacious. Our professional services, along with the best products like Marvin, are why we're proud of our 5-star reviews. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door experts in Chicagoland. Need new windows now? Buy now, pay later with 0% financing for 18 months. Terms and conditions apply. Visit woodlandwindows.com and schedule an appointment today. That's woodlandwindows.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, George Mason University Law School professor Eugene Konorovich. That's 8:08.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Will a Bears Stadium deal get done? Probably not. Man who died after falling at Starved Rock is identified. Cubs go down against the Reds and the White Sox collapse late. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
A hearing and an interview. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Both related to the Trump assassination attempt. The FBI will interview the former president Thursday. He tells Fox the Secret Service detail who covered him were very brave. So was the sniper who killed the gunman.
It would have been good if it was 9 seconds sooner. You know, we lost one great person and 2 people were very badly hurt.
An hour from now, the new leader of the Secret Service, Ronald Rowe, will face questions at a Senate hearing.
Senators like Republican Josh Hawley of Missouri want answers instead of being told, we're still investigating.
It cannot be in this country that if you go to a political rally or event, you fear for your life.
Rowe took over as acting Secret Service director following the resignation of Kimberly Cheadle. Cheadle resigned after a disastrous hearing in front of House lawmakers where she was grilled on security failures leading up to the shooting.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz at the Capitol. Back to former President Trump. He was also asked last night by Fox's Laura Ingraham, will he debate Vice President Harris?
I want to do a debate, but I also can say this. Everybody knows who I am, and now people know who she is. She's a radical left lunatic. She'll destroy our country. She wants open borders.
Then why not debate her?
Well, wait. But because they already know everything.
He says any debate should be before any votes are cast. The Harris campaign says he's backpedaling from a September 10th debate agreed to when President Biden was still running. Now, Vice President Harris will campaign in Georgia today for the first time as the presumptive Democratic nominee. The polls are just opening across Arizona, where it's primary day. Republican Blake Masters running for a seat in Congress and tells Fox,
I think it's undeniable that in my race, in large part thanks to President Trump's endorsement, we've got the momentum.
But former President Trump also endorsed one of his opponents in that same primary. Now, Carrie Lake is running in a Senate primary, the Republican who lost the 2022 Arizona governor's race, hoping to square off with Democrat Ruben Gallego in the fall. America's listening to Fox News.
71 degrees. Sunshine at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Governor Pritzker doesn't believe a deal for a new taxpayer-funded Bears Stadium in Chicago will get done, at least this year.
I've made it clear to the Bears leadership that it would be near impossible to get anything done if there was a proposal put on the table by them that could get done. You couldn't actually get it done probably during the veto session and would have to wait until next spring.
And Governor J.B. Pritzker will not say whether he's being vetted to be the Democrats' next vice presidential candidate. Here's AM 560's Greg Bishop.
Asked Monday at an unrelated event if he's being vetted for second in command of the country, Pritzker refused to share any private conversations with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Other than to say that I have committed myself to Kamala Harris, that I will go out and work my heart out for her to win this election because we cannot have Donald Trump as president of the United States.
Republican State Representative Brad Halbrook said Pritzker's agenda is far left and Marxist, doesn't care about the Constitution or the border, and will tax, borrow, and spend more if he's the second most powerful person next to the president.
I'm not really sure that Illinoisans can afford much more J.B. Pritzker. I'm pretty sure that America can't afford any more of the Democrat policies.
Democrats meet in Chicago for the national convention beginning August 19th. I'm Greg Bishop.
The LaSalle County Medical Examiner's Office identifies the Oswego man who fell to his death at Starved Rock State Park over the weekend as Albert Kramer. The incident remains under investigation. Chicago sports. Cubs lost to the Reds 7-1. White Sox have lost 15 straight following an 8-5 loss to the Royals. The news is service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. It's 8:04. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Pfizer is reporting upbeat earnings for the recent quarter. It's cutting costs and raising its forecast for the year. It was helped by demand for its cancer treatments, though more companies are reporting cautious forecasts as budgets tighten because of higher interest rates. Drug giant Merck & Company's earnings and sales beat expectations, helped by sales of its cancer treatment Keytruda, though Merck's outlook for the year is mixed. Procter & Gamble, maker of Luvs, Pampers, Gillette, and many other brands, is reporting sales for recent months that were weaker than forecast. P&G's earnings topped expectations, but sales declined from a year ago. And Diageo, the parent company of Guinness, Smirnoff, and Captain Morgan, says sales declined in its recent quarter. The Federal Reserve's two-day meeting starts today. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka always has the best guests.
How do you think this opponent rates against the incumbent Joe Biden?
He was the worst president we've ever had, and her ratings are lower than his ratings, so I don't know how she can do well, but maybe she can. It's a crazy world out there. Nothing good happened during this administration. Nothing.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you ready to lose weight but not sure where to start? Let me tell you why I chose a PhD weight loss and nutrition. First, Dr. Ashley Lucas has her PhD in chronic disease and sports nutrition. The program is science-based. The PhD program starts with nutrition, but is so much more. They know that 90% of permanent change comes from the mind, and they work on eliminating the reason you gained this weight in the first place. There are no shortcuts, no pills, no scary injections, just solid science-based nutrition and behavior change. And finally, I lost 42 pounds and I haven't gained a pound back. PhD has a lifelong maintenance plan. If you are ready to lose weight for the last time, call 864-644-1900 to get started. Or online at myphdweightloss.com. Do what I did, what hundreds of my listeners have done. Call today, 864-644-1900.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
NYPD officer Jonathan Diller's tragic story made national headlines this year. Now, Jonathan was shot and killed by a career criminal during a traffic stop. Jonathan, who's just 31 years old, leaves behind his wife Stephanie and 1-year-old son Ryan. Now, nothing will ever replace the loss of a husband and a father, but the Tunnel to Towers Foundation was able to pay off the mortgage on the Diller family's home. Please commit to $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
8:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Kennedy inbound and hour 6. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, 1 hour, 390 into the old post office. Outbound, you're jammed up Cicero to North Avenue. Stevenson inbound at 43 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the Ryan, 30 minutes, 95th into the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Intervals of clouds and sun. Wildfire smoke may cause the sky to be hazy today, high 92. Partly cloudy, humid, a heavy thunderstorm late tonight. Could see some flash flooding, low 70. Partly sunny, a thunderstorm in spots tomorrow, and the high 87. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
71 and mostly sunny at O'Hare. Your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm just so refreshed by the moral clarity that was provided by Bibi Netanyahu when he spoke to that joint meeting in Congress last week.
Yeah, it was refreshing and it was needed.
He's
like real leadership there.
Just stripping it all down, speaking without equivocation, and from a place of substantial knowledge. That's just something we're not often treated to from politicians in this country anymore. And just a reminder, because I also want to go back to Douglas Murray's talk that we played a bit of earlier in the program when Yuval Levin joined us. There's a couple more things that Murray said that I think are worth noting, sort of building off of Bibi's speech last week. But again, the message heard around the world about Israel's position with respect to Islamist terrorists. There's no leading with an apology here.
They call Israel a colonialist state. Don't they know that the land of Israel is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed, where Isaiah and Jeremiah preached,
No, they don't know.
and where David and Solomon ruled? For nearly 4,000 years, the land of Israel has been the homeland of the Jewish people. It's always been our home. It will always be our home.
And Douglas Murray on the rank hypocrisy and ignorance of the radical left, who serve as apologists for the radical Islamist terrorists, the feminists.
We have all for years heard the feminists issue a call on male sexual violence against women. Believe all women. But where was the solidarity? Where was the sympathy or even belief when the women were Jews? The belief evaporates.
And Murray, this British author I mentioned earlier, this talk that he gave, very good. The history of anti-Semitism, too, a little history lesson from Murray like we got from Bibi. The things that the people running around tearing down posters of Israeli hostages and stuff, the things they don't know could fill many, many libraries, the things they don't know.
Anti-Semitism is famously a shape-shifting virus. Sometimes in the past, people hated Jews for their religion. Then you couldn't hate people for their religion, so people hated the Jews for their race. Then when you weren't allowed to hate people for their race anymore, you could hate the Jews for having and defending a state. This is the eternal challenge for the Jewish people. Gregor von Retzori, among others, showed us this. It's their challenge to be hated for being poor and for being rich. For being integrated and for not integrating. For being stateless, remember, rootless cosmopolitans, and also to be hated for having a state. But this is not only a challenge for the Jews, it's a challenge for all of us. As Vasily Grossman wrote in the dead center of his masterpiece, Life and Fate, and I quote, "Anti-Semitism is always a means rather than an end. It is a measure of the contradictions yet to be resolved. It is a mirror for the failings of individuals, social structures, and state systems. Tell me what you accuse the Jews of. I'll tell you what you're guilty of."
For more on this, please be joined by Eugene Konorovich. He's the head of the International Law Department at the Colette Policy Forum, a Jerusalem think tank. Also professor at George Mason University's Scalia Law School. Professor Konorovich, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, great to be on with you, Dan.
The point that Douglas Murray was getting to at the end in his little brief recitation of the history of anti-Semitism and standing on the shoulders of scholars is the point that Bibi made as well, is that the fight against Hamas and other Iranian-backed terrorist organizations in the Middle East is not just a fight for Israel, but it's a fight for the West in general, as we have seen visited upon America many times, but we seem to have short memories. This is the key point that he made in mentioning the burning of American flags and the denunciation of Western democracies, generally speaking, not limited to Israel.
Correct. Israel has always been identified by the Mullah regime in Iran as the little Satan, and America is the great Satan. When you get the little Satan first, and then you go after the great Satan. But Iran is already going after America. Iranian-backed forces throughout the Middle East, in Syria and Iraq, are routinely attacking American forces. And the Houthis, who were not any kind of problem before Iran trained and armed them, are under Iranian direction almost daily attacking international shipping in the Gulf of Aden and off of Yemen, which is a major international waterway. And basically, they are holding much of the world's shipping and trade in their hands. And the United States, under the Biden administration, is doing close to nothing about it.
It was interesting, Netanyahu's approach, too, in his speech. I mean, he was complimentary to the Biden administration for the support that's given, but he's also been pretty stern in responding to criticism by saying we are going to essentially continue this campaign until Hamas is eradicated and hostages are freed and so forth. And I wonder what your reaction is, because a lot of people would expect the leader of a country who is being provided support by America to come hat in hand to, rattle the tin cup, to offer all sorts of bon mots to the political class. But that's not what Netanyahu did.
So, for one, he was being extremely courteous. And I think damning the Biden administration with faint praise.
Yeah.
In fact, the Biden administration has been restricting a huge variety of weapons to Israel. It has been blocking shipments of weapons Israel has already purchased and which have already been authorized by Congress in the middle of this war started by Hamas on October 7th, and as Israel is under attack from Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen. That is the context in which the President Biden has found it fit to restrict weapons. So I think the Bibi's tone was, thank you for what you've sent, but certainly it does not rise to the moment, and it does not rise to the need. I myself, think America, need not be looking for overseas adventures. And what's great about Israel as an ally is that it is a real ally. Israel in the Middle East prevents America from having to fight these wars. That is to say, Israel is fighting the wars that otherwise America might be pulled into. Israel is taking on Iran, taking on Syria, and that's an extreme benefit for the United States. So I think there was also a very interesting part where Prime Minister Netanyahu, he thanked the Biden administration. Thank you for sending some weapons during the war, which were already purchased and paid for congressionally appropriated money. And then he thanked also Donald Trump. And the list of things that he thanked Donald Trump for were noticeably longer and more ambitious. Recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the Goan Heights as Israeli territory, the Abraham Accords, which is the first time actually a diplomatic plan has brought peace to the Middle East. Those are massive accomplishments. And then, the relatively the lack of any comparable accomplishments in the Biden administration was the quiet condemnation of the record of this administration for 4 years. It has tried to bring peace by appeasing the Muslim Brotherhood, by appeasing Iran, and instead it has only pushed it further off when really truly the region was on the brink of broad agreement for reconciling relations at the end of the Trump administration.
Well, what kind of message did it send when the presidential candidate Kamala Harris attended a sorority event in Indiana rather than attend his address?
Yeah, that's right. I think it sent exactly the message that she wants to send. It's the message that she also sent in her comments immediately after meeting with Netanyahu. It was a message to the pro-Hamas activist base of the party, which is, as she said, I see you, I hear you, and I'm with you. There was a lot of opposition amongst the squad, progressive faction of the party to Netanyahu's visit. Perhaps 70 Democratic congressmen boycotted. Even though, as I point out in my article in the Wall Street Journal, when William Ruto, the president of Kenya, who had been indicted for crimes against humanity by the ICC, the International Criminal Court, only to have the case collapse because the witnesses all recanted their testimony among allegations of witness intimidation, those people met with Ruto. Kamala Harris hosted a luncheon for Ruto. So the stark difference in the treatment suggests she is cool on Israel. She wants to resuscitate the policy of the Biden and Obama administration that it's good for America to have daylight with Israel. And she has not learned from the mistakes of those administrations, which is when the bad guys, when Iran and Hamas see American leaders holding Israel at arm's length, they see this is their opportunity to attack. Nothing like October 7th happened during the Trump administration, and I don't think it's a coincidence.
How much of what Netanyahu had to say, both in terms of his broadsides against the pro-Hamas protesters, as well as his history lessons, was directed at secular Jews in the West, particularly America?
I think it was dead. In America, secular Jews who are not that different, I think, culturally from their secular, liberal, non-Jewish counterparts. So it's a lesson for everyone, really. But I think it's also it's a lesson for those who have been listening to the United Nations and its bodies, who fundamentally deny Jewish indigeneity in the Holy Land. Right? They say Jews are not from Israel. Jews are not natives. Arabs who came in the 7th century, they're the natives. And it's a fundamental point that Netanyahu makes, that if you believe in native rights, if you believe in indigenous rights, you have to believe in the rights of the Jewish people. And we're not going anywhere because we have nowhere to go. This is our home.
The impact politically as it pertains to the November election here, people trying to get a handle on, as you know, the attrition of secular Jews from the Democrat Party to neutrality, if not all the way over to Trump. I mean, do you think that October 7th and what has transpired since will have a significant impact on the distribution of the vote among American Jews?
I think it has had an impact. I don't think it's as significant as it should be. That is to say, President Biden said that Israel's response to October 7th was over the top. President Biden responded to October 7th by calling for the creation of a Palestinian state and imposing sanctions on Jewish activists and Jewish protesters in Israel, an unprecedented sanctions regime. So that is a extremely disappointing policy towards Israel, especially when contrasted with the extraordinary successes of the Trump administration. That said, lots of Jews don't vote as Jews. They don't put Jewish or Israeli interests at the forefront of their mind, and so I doubt it will affect them. But there's, I think, a critical margin that will be affected. Of course, there's a bigger question the abandoning Biden as the candidate and switching to Kamala Harris, probably the Democrats see as an attempt to reset and get away from all of the bad legacy of the Biden administration. And the question is Kamala Harris going to, inherit the baggage of Biden on Israel or not? And I think, by rights she should, because not only was she part of the same administration, but her own comments and actions indicate that, if anything, she would be even more hostile and critical of Israel.
Eugene Konorovich is the head of the International Law Department at the Colette Policy Forum, which is a Jerusalem think tank. Also a law professor at George Mason University's Scalia Law School. Professor Konorovich, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Choosing to send your kids to school, choosing where to send your kids to school is one of the most important decisions parents make. The school year has come to an end for 2024, the spring, but of course in the fall, kids are going back to school, and you might be thinking about where to send them. You need to know that private school might be an option for you and your family, thanks to our friends at Half Price Schools. At halfpriceschools.com, you'll find many different private schools from around Chicagoland offering a full year of tuition for half of the normal price, and you can take advantage of this great opportunity. It's simple. Find a private school near you, purchase the tuition voucher, and prepare to send your child off to school this fall. HalfPriceSchools.com has schools located across Chicagoland, including Christian Liberty in Arlington Heights, St. Pete's Lutheran in Schaumburg, Ravenswood Christian in Chicago, St. Andrew's Lutheran in Park Ridge, and many more. So don't delay. Next school year will be here before you know it, like in about a month or less. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today. Don't wait. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today. That's halfpriceschools.com.
As everyone can tell, we're living in turbulent times. During times of uncertainty like World War II and 9/11, people have often turned to God. In times like these, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville, Illinois reminds all Americans of the ancient promise found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. This is not a political statement. It's a call to all God-fearing Americans to do as God's word instructs. America needs healing now. Whether you're for the guy on the left or the right or neither, everyone needs to heed the word of God as 2 Chronicles instructs us. May God bless all our leaders and God bless the USA. This message is brought to you by Fox Valley Coins on Route 59, Naperville, Illinois.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. What's the only thing worse than no apology at all? A so-called apology that blames people for taking offense. The opening ceremonies in Paris for the Olympics offended and outraged people around the world with a blasphemous drag satire of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. Clips of the tableau, dubbed the New Gay Testament by its star, flooded social media and stoked criticism from all corners. Olympics organizers attempted to get the platforms to remove the images using dishonest copyright claims, then offered a sorry if you were offended non-apology, claiming not to have intended it as a satire of religious faith. That is clearly a lie. They fully intended to offend Christians with this garish and insulting parody of their faith, and they succeeded. This is not inclusivity or tolerance. It reveals a deep and abiding hatred for faith, and for the Western culture built largely upon it, and it shows the contempt that the elite have for those who treasure both. I'm Ed Morrissey.
AM 560, The Answer.
Did you watch the Olympics yesterday? Women's volleyball?
I haven't watched any of it yet.
Oh, we have 4 TVs going in our house.
I don't
Watching
sit around eating bonbons, whiling away the day watching television. I'm out doing things. I'm doing the work. I'm doing historic work for the people, just like the Biden administration.
Well, they played China, and they had their middle hitter was 6'11", and their middle hitter was 6'10".
Nice gene splicing by the Communist Party there.
We went 5 sets with them and lost. Ugh. Anyhow, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
6'10" and 6'11".
Yeah.
Is around this.
Well, let's see. Yao Ming was 7'6".
Yeah.
On the male side. Maybe he'll identify as a female and play volleyball. One at 8:38. Juan Villasmil, Intercollegiate Studies Institute editorial fellow. Things are about to get ugly in Venezuela. They're about to get ugly?
I think they're already
They've been ugly for a while under the dictatorships of Chavez and Maduro, haven't they? Anyway, we'll get the latest with respect to the unrest, perhaps civil war, in reaction to Maduro winning, in quotation marks, another term. That's 8:38.
But first, let's stop by the newsroom once again and say hello to Mike Scott.
74 degrees at 8:30, and President Biden pushing for what he calls major reform to the Supreme Court, marking the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. Biden calling yesterday for an 18-year term limit for justices. 2024 Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says how he wouldn't change the court if he were elected.
Doesn't happen. We keep it the way it is. And it's been working very well for a long period of time. I mean, basically, they want to create another Congress. They want to have so many people. Let's just go to another Congress.
Some of the proposed changes would require a constitutional amendment. That means a 2/3 majority in both chambers of Congress and 3/4 of approval of state legislators. 3 kids are dead, at least 11 injured after a stabbing in the English town of Southport.
An assailant walked into a dance and yoga studio and began stabbing children. It was during a sold-out Taylor Swift-themed class for 6 to 11-year-olds.
Police received stabbing reports just before noon local time on Monday in the town just north of Liverpool. The FBI revealing more details on the steps gunman Thomas Crooks took leading up to his assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Investigators say Crooks used aliases to make more than 24 online purchases of firearms-related products beginning in the spring of last year. The U.S. and other Western nations are urging citizens to leave Lebanon as tensions grow in the region between Israel and militants there. A lost Andy Warhol portrait of Blondie singer Deborah Harry could bring in millions. The portrait, created in 1985 on a Commodore computer, was found hanging in rural Delaware. Former President Donald Trump is coming to Chicago this week. His campaign says he will be attending the National Association of Black Journalists Convention tomorrow and participate in a Q&A. The Cook County Treasurer is offering a new online tool designed to help Cook County residents who've received a property tax increase this year that may push them out of their homes.
It does make sense as a start. Once again, it's not the end all, but it is a start in the right direction to help people to try to stay in their homes.
Harvey Mayor Christopher Clark, the payment plan calculator, can help residents pay off past due property tax bills. A fire damaged a West Suburban church and school on Monday morning.
I'm told that the fire started on the back of the building back there, which both our electric service and, unfortunately, the gas main were.
Bill Merchant is with Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Fire broke out around 6 a.m. Downers Grove Fire Chief Scott Spinazzola.
They did make an aggressive interior attack to attempt to extinguish the fire, but the fire continued to move over their heads.
While the cause is under investigation, ComEd crews were working down the street replacing a pole after a motorist ran into it Monday morning. High voltage lines that service the church were damaged. Cubs lost to the Reds 7-1. White Sox, losers of 15 straight after an 8-5 loss to the Royals. Congratulations to Team USA's men's gymnastics team. They won a bronze medal for the first time since 2008, thanks to an inspired performance by Deerfield's Paul Judah, Stevenson High School grad and University of Michigan grad. Is not done. Qualified for the individual all-around as well. The news, a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher wants to stick to the facts.
I'm going to urge you and urge our Republican leaders and urge media pundits on our side of the aisle to cease with the personal attacks on Kamala Harris. There is so much to her record and what she represents that we should easily see her going down to defeat on November the 5th.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. Not too long ago, two friends of mine were talking to a Cuban refugee, a businessman who had escaped from Castro. And in the midst of his story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped and said, "How lucky you are. I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man.
This moment in American history has been brought to you by Earthworks. Learn more today at earthworksinc.com.
Wow, she loves it. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and I'm talking about a woman that I met at the pool. Arthritis robbed her of so much, but there's effective ways to deal with that pain without drugs or surgery. She went to QC Kinetics. They use cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizes your joints so you can move again. So if you're living with chronic pain like my new friend I met at the pool, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, and restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. Call them today for a free consultation. They'll walk you through the process, tell you how it all works. They have new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee, and Saturday appointments are available. 312-809-5955. Write it down, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
8:37. Let's get a check of the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time in this update. A service of Lowe's. Don't miss up to 70% off. Select major appliances at the Lowe's Closeout event. But hurry. These deals are too good to last because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/7 while supplies last. Selection may vary. Kennedy inbound, an hour 10. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Accident on the outbound Ike. 2 right lanes blocked. It's between Pulaski and Austin. Big delays on the Stevenson outbound between LaGrange Road and the Tri-State. Dan Ryan inbound jams up in the locals 59th to Roosevelt. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny, hazy, high 92. Clouds, maybe a heavy thunderstorm overnight. Low of 70. 74 right now. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The bus driver turned dictator in Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, wins, scare quotes, third term, apparently. Even though the exit polling had the opposition candidate winning by a relatively big margin, but it turned out that when the ballots were counted, I mean, everything needs to be in quotations with respect to this election, of course. Maduro got a little over 51% of the vote to Gonzalez's 44%, is what I last saw. And the question is, what, if anything, is going to be done about what transpired there, starting with by the people of Venezuela, who, of course, were protesting in the streets outside the presidential palace. And I also saw reporting of military and police firing upon the protesters. So trying to get a handle on what's happening in Caracas and the country writ large. Pleased to be joined by Juan Villasmil, who is Intercollegiate Studies Institute editorial fellow at the Spectator World. Juan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
So, provide us with your perspective and what you understand to be the situation on the ground there as we speak.
Yeah, so I'm JP. I grew up in Venezuela for the first 16 years of my life, actually. When I was 14, I actually spoke at a protest. That time around, it was when the government, denied a democratic referendum. And I spoke next to Maria Corina Machado, who is now the face of the opposition. And Mundo Gonzalez, who's the candidate that won against Maduro, according to the actual results, he's basically the face of Maria Corina Machado. And if I were to summarize entirely what has happened in the last 20 years, is that we had a lot of moderate left-wingers, democratic socialists run against Maduro because they thought that a very strong, stark moral political contrast would not succeed with the social conditions in Venezuela. But what Maria Corina Machado has demonstrated is that it did work. Maria Corina Machado has united the opposition in ways that were previously unseen. She's not an overtly negotiation-minded politician. Traditionally, when there's some type of fraud, when anything happens with Maduro, the opposition tends to sit down and try to reach a middle ground. Maria Corina, on the other hand, is saying there was fraud. We won in every single state by 30%. It's impossible for Maduro to win by the 10% margin he claims to have won. Well, I think it's 7% margin he claims they won by. That did not happen. And in the next days, we're going to see what this becomes. But the international pressure is on. And a lot of people, even left-wingers throughout Latin America, are taking a stand against Maduro, especially the Chilean president, Gabriel Boric, who's been a real ally of the Venezuelan people. So congrats to him for that.
I saw that Milei in Argentina took a pretty strong position, much stronger than, say, the Biden administration did, which is the typical sort of we have concerns and we're going to look into it and talk to our friends and so forth and see what happens. So sort of dipping their toe in the water. But I mean, just how much international pressure is really being ginned up, and what would it take to depose Maduro? I mean, I don't think it can come from the outside. It's got to come from the military and the people, right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Before I answer, since you mentioned Milei, it's incredible the work Milei is doing.
Yeah.
Months before the election even became a thing, the Maduro government has been trying to jail Maria Corina's inner circle. Actually, they've tried to jail half of them. So her international relations person, her campaign director, her domestic, every single person that had a high-level position in their campaign is living inside the Argentinian embassy in Caracas. And if you're an American and you're hearing this, remember, that used to be a role the U.S. had. The U.S. used to be the country that would tell people in countries like Venezuela, if you need to go to a safe place, come to our embassy. And it does say something about the standing of America. And I don't like this like moralistic talking about the standing of America, but in this case, it does apply. That the opposition went to Argentina and not to the U.S. Embassy. It is kind of sad. But yeah, in regards to international pressure, of course, like, getting rid of Maduro is a really complicated task, and I'm not exactly optimistic as someone who has talked to dozens of people on the ground, and as someone who has seen previously optimism often lead to nothing. What we do need is international pressure, and I'm not sure the Biden administration is ready to do that. The reality is that they've been really soft in regard to Venezuela. The reason why Maduro is just waving it around and just doing whatever he wants is because the Biden administration relieved sanctions, and they told him, "Oh, we will relieve sanctions if you become a democracy." And you know what Maduro did? Maduro did, okay. And he turned around, and he's threatening to annex Guyana. He's weaponizing migration. He's not letting Biden deport gang members and illegal aliens that come to the U.S. back to Venezuela. And he's jailing the opposition. He's doing all these things, and Biden has still not put the sanctions back. So what's going on?
Well, is there truth? I mean, people keep saying that they're Venezuelan, that the President Maduro emptied the jails and sent those illegals to the United States. Do you know anything about that?
That's definitely true. Of course, like the overtly personalist language might not necessarily be like, it's not like Maduro personally did all these things, but Maduro has let crime get out of control, and he's let gangs take control of prisons and done nothing about it. So one of the gangs that has a presence in New York especially, and throughout the U.S. in its major cities, is El Tren de Aragua. El Tren de Aragua is now one of the fastest growing gangs in Latin America. Imagine MS-13, which every American has heard about, but in Venezuela. They took control of a prison called Tocorón in Venezuela. And for like 20 years, the government did nothing about it. Just for context, imagine a bunch of criminals take over some jail in Chicago, and the government does nothing about it. And they take control of it, and then they build a club in the jail. They have a restaurant, a pool. They have everything.
Yeah, it's Pablo Escobar Redux, right? Pablo Escobar jail in Colombia Redux. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So the government let that happen. And those are the same gang members that are now probably instructed by some other actors, although I don't have all the facts. No one has the facts. They're really secretive. They're really secretive about everything. I'm not going to dive into this, but in regard to China, 50% of the deal terms between Venezuela and China are unknown. No one knows what they're dealing in. But we know that they have $2 trillion worth of minerals. We know that Venezuela has the largest military presence from Russia since the Cuban Missile Crisis in the island of La Ortila. There's so many things going on in Venezuela. And if the American audience is listening right now, I would tell you, standing against Venezuela, not invading, I'm not against invading, but putting some pressure is in America's interest, because Iran, China, and Russia love Maduro. They adore him. It's their best ally in the hemisphere.
What is going on exactly with military and police with respect to protesters? As I mentioned at the outset, there's reporting of police and or military opening fire on protesters. Have there been injuries, deaths? What is happening?
Yeah, so I've been talking to a lot of my friends, especially in Caracas, and there's been a lot of shots fired. I've heard about at least 3 people that have been they died. And a couple have been shot, but there's no official numbers yet. Well, of course, we're not going to have official numbers, but I haven't seen any published numbers, especially by the NGOs there. I know Foro Penal, which translates to the Penal Forum, normally publishes numbers of this nature, but I haven't seen anything from them. But another interesting thing, another number that I haven't been able to fully capture has been the amount of Chavez statues tore down.
Yeah.
I actually wrote an article this morning there's been more than 20 to my count in every single city in Venezuela. They're tearing down Chavez statues in what seems like a citizen-enforced death Chaveznification process. And at least that, it's good to see. They're tearing down this socialist leader that in the eyes of college Marxists in the U.S. is somehow a good man, but the poorest of the poor in Venezuela are fed up, and they don't want Chavismo pushed down their throats. They're tired of it, and things might get ugly, but hopefully better in the long run.
Yeah, well, no, you're right. That is a positive sign. Juan Villasmil, he's Intercollegiate Studies Institute editorial fellow at the Spectator World. Juan, thanks for joining us with your perspective. Obviously, good luck to you and, more importantly, your friends and family and loved ones still down in Venezuela.
Of course. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you. We'd love to have you back. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Chips podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRails AP, their proprietary system for accounts payable automation. Not only did FinRails AP help us to reduce costs and create efficiencies, but it also helped minimize fraud risk. Now, our company can invest time into what we do best, supplying industrial products, metalworking tooling, contractor tools, and safety supplies to those who make, build, and create great things for our country.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. In the 2 years since the Supreme Court overturned Roe, abortion has become big business in Illinois. While other states have restricted abortions, Illinois has become a destination for women looking for abortions. Thank you, Jelly Belly.
Oh, yeah, we're also offering free rides to women in Iowa who want to get abortions in Illinois now.
You can help to reverse that trend by supporting a great organization called Preborn. Research shows that when pregnant girls or young women see their babies on an ultrasound, they are far more likely to choose life for that child. And Preborn provides ultrasounds for mothers facing crisis pregnancies. The cost of an ultrasound is just $28. That's it. That's all it takes to save the life of a baby. Your gift of $28 can give a mother who is abortion-minded the chance to see the truth of the baby growing inside her. For a gift of $140, you can do that for 5 moms and their babies. And maybe you're someone who has the means to give a gift of $15,000. If so, that's what it costs to purchase an ultrasound machine that can save the lives of thousands of babies for years to come. Regardless of what you're able to give, don't wait. Your gift to Preborn can make an immediate impact. To give that gift, just go to 560theanswer.com/preborn. That's all one word, 560theanswer.com/preborn, Preborn, 560theanswer.com/preborn. Or call 833-850-BABY. That's 833-850-2229.
This message is for anyone looking for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance, even if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or taking anxiety meds. Here's an example. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe overweight with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost about $200 a month. We're Term Provider, experts in finding affordable term life insurance for those that may not be in perfect health. If you've had prostate cancer, heart conditions, high cholesterol, or on prescription medications, you may still qualify for $500,000 to $1 million or more of affordable term life insurance. Get a quick quote by calling Term Provider at 800-568-2790. 800-568-2790. If you're looking for term life insurance but have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or have other health issues, call Term Provider at 800-568-2790 or visit termprovider.com. Termprovider.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, boy, that was interesting talking to that young man from Venezuela originally, now in this country, obviously. Particularly, it really is another sad commentary. Gosh, a lot of sad commentaries on the West and America specifically, that the opposition party facing repression under Maduro, who seemingly stole another election, sought refuge in the Argentinian embassy in Caracas rather than an American embassy. Milei is becoming the new leader of the free world from Argentina. And speaking of the topic as it pertains to domestic issues like the welcome mat that is our southern border, Pocahontas was on with Jake Tapper over the weekend, flacking for Kamala, and had this to say about what Reparation H is committed to when it comes to amnesty, pathway to citizenship. It won't be a surprise, but it's nice to document because, again, these positions are not tenable to a majority of the electorate, including in those key battleground states.
The border, to have more resources in the states and cities that are supporting migrants. And I believe we need to create a pathway to citizenship. All of that is a part of what we need to do for comprehensive immigration reform. Kamala Harris will work with Congress and get that done.
Oh, well,
they want our new neighbors to be citizens? I mean, it shouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, the Biden buddies.
So that they can vote.
The Biden buddies. Well, I tell you, it's...
they're already helping with the census because you don't have to be here legally to, for the census when they dole out congressional districts.
Well, it's a reminder of how important the congressional races are, too, working with Congress to provide amnesty, including because there's no distinguishing people who come here, commit crimes, versus in addition to coming here illegally, which, by the way, is still a crime. There's no distinguishing. And you just heard from our friend Juan Villamil about what we already know in Chicago, the presence of Tren de Aragua gang members in the hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans that have come to this country illegally, and many of them, of course, residing in the migrant shelters in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, we had Alderman Lopez on when you were off, and he said these Venezuelan gang leaders, they're militarily trained. They're good shots, and they're gangbangers that are in Little Village, in Lawndale, and in other shelters.
And
they're committing a lot of crimes.
And the misdirection play the left is attempting right now, which shouldn't go unnoticed, is this focus on Vance's comments and the childish cat lady things. And now we have, people popping up who used to wear pea hats. Now they're complimenting their pea hat with a pea face.
I'm a childless cat woman, but I'm happy. I'm happy. Bring laughter on, you know?
Say to Vance.
Yeah, what is your message to Vance?
You're gonna have to
You don't mess with childless cat ladies.
She did not.
And J.D. Vance and the Republicans are the weird ones.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to hear for the next 98 days, that J.D. Vance there's something weird about him.
Yeah, I mean, you don't...
said that too, like, there's something weird. So that's the new, narrative they're going to push.
That, and using that to pivot back to what they really want to focus on is abortion. And not only are they weird, they're oppressive, they're moralistic. The 700 Club is going to take over the White House and is going to dispatch sentinels to your bedroom to monitor your personal conduct, and all of the hysteria in that direction. But by the way, it should be noted, not that you want to spend a lot of time responding to women wearing pea hats and pea masks on their face, but there is some of this that does deserve a response. Certainly deserves to be platformed. For example, the head of the Human Rights Campaign, this Kelly Robinson, she was on with Joy Reid. Of course she was. Listen to what she had to say about not childless cat ladies. Listen to what she had to say about moms, particularly moms who are stay-at-home.
I mean, you can see all of that laid out in Project 2025. But I do have to say this. It clearly calls for a national ban on abortion. They intend to make that the reality. Also, I mean, the ways that they're defining heterosexuality and the ideal family unit, they are actually trying to put provisions into place to control us in our decisions. I mean, this trad wife, kind of housewife trend that they're trying to promote, that's actually a system of power and control over women's lives. Yeah. So let's be clear. Everything that we enjoy...
Being a stay-at-home mom and raising kids is being a tool of the patriarchy. something we haven't heard before from the second and third wave feminists, but they're still committed to the destruction of the nuclear family. Just thought you would want to know.
All right. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning